Available now on Pro Wrestling Tees. 3 brand new Mack Attack t-shirts, the Mackcast, Tag Team Adventures, and the Training School, only at ProWrestlingTees.com/Mackcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, currently broadcasting, accompanied by trainee number 1 from France. He is Monster Mack.
Holy crap, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mackcast. You like that? Actually. All right, yeah, that's all you get. No, it was really dramatic. I had to make it extra dramatic because I never actually thought it would happen. We're here in the Mack Mansion, and we got a special guest. And when I say special guest this time, I really mean it, Trainee.
Are you saying that the previous times you used special guests that they weren't special?
I kind of use that word a little loosely, if you ask me.
You're like, cool people, special guests, Middlesex Express, special guests.
They're all special in my heart, Trainee, but this one's really special because I didn't think it would ever happen.
How did it happen?
You mentioned that he should be on the Mackcast, and it actually worked, Trainee.
I can't believe it. Maverick Wild, I think, had a big hand in it as well, pressuring him to do the podcast. But before we get to announcing our guest, Mac, you got some Mac news? Because my Mac news is that last night I got the showcase, I got the Black Hot Surprise, but from Monster Mack.
Oh, I thought you were going to read off all my Mac News notes and just say it, and then I would have had nothing to say. But we got new T-shirts and pro.
Hey, what about the Mac News that I said?
Oh, well, I puked all over the place, and right. Blackhawk cut me out of the match, and you had to wrestle Rob Roberts. The Blackhawk Surprise. You knew it was going to happen.
No, yeah, but see, Monster Mack, on the way to showcase, decided to drink an entire bottle of Pepto-Bismol from the dollar store because he thought maybe it would make him feel better. Well, in Providence traffic, you had to grab a plastic bag from my back seat several times while I just stared at you and laughed.
It was Pepto-Bismol from the dollar store, so I measured it out. It was only like 2 cups in that bad boy.
No way there was only 2 cups. But, yeah, so I had to wrestle, Rob Roberts and Derek Conway in a 3-way. I'm victorious. So the Black Hot Surprise was that I won. And, Mac, what did you have for your notes?
And we got brand new T-shirts, ProWrestlingTees.com. Check that shit out, everybody. We got the retro Mack Attack T-shirt. Pretty dope, if you ask me.
Yes.
And also, be my friend on Facebook, you know what I'm saying? And check us out on Twitter.
At Monster Mack Show. But Facebook I wanted to talk to you a little bit about because we recently, somebody reported us and we had to change our name. So whoever did that, you can suck it. And somebody also recently, I got a text to my phone from Podbean. Somebody broke into our podcast account, changed the password and the email address, but I got back in before they could do anything. So yesterday was an interesting day.
God damn. So now on Facebook, check us out. We're now Monster Mack. Space between the Mon and the Stir. That's our new name. And also, speaking of Showcase Pro Wrestling, you can check us out March 25th. We're going to be scheduled there. It's a Saturday. It's in time, and that's all I'm going to tell you.
And also, the 18th of March, House of Bricks Pro Wrestling in New Bedford. Find out all that stuff on their sites. We have no idea where the shows are. So, Mac, who do we have in the Mack Mansion today?
I can't believe it. It's H2O, Ryan Waters in the Mack Mansion, and this guy must have all kinds of wrestling info. He pretty much lives the wrestling business, so it's an honor to have him here in the Mack Mansion. I'm sure he's going to have all kinds of stuff to tell us.
That was like a stroke and a half there.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. He doesn't come to my training anymore.
Yeah,
though.
right, but he did at one point.
He did. He was not enjoying it.
He didn't like it when Spike was running either and screaming at him.
That's understandable.
To be honest, I had the special hookup, the free training from my boy Steve Ricard, and I just thought that you just didn't have much interest in training me for free.
Well, it had nothing to do with
the
free.
Yeah, it's just not much interest.
It's the training thing. You know, a lot of times, you know, it's hard to. There's people you get interested in training, and other people you just kind of go shake your head at.
Right.
You know. And
you're saying Monster Mack was one of the
I'm saying
guys. Is it because he always wanted to do the leapfrogs and he's not good at them?
I think he used to show up at training with like khakis on, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd be like, well, this guy's obviously not serious. It takes 2 seconds to, change into a pair of.
But what if he's coming right out of work? That's super dedication
But
going
you
right
can.
to practice.
Why can't you bring jogging pants with you to work?
Have you met him?
Well, I guess.
At the time, my wardrobe was just nothing but khakis, but
Right.
I can totally understand what you're saying.
No. Some of the
And
guys,
he wasn't athletic at all.
right. But you know
So.
what? You know, look at him. You can tell.
Well, we'll get there.
Right,
I hear
eventually,
as
right?
you get older, you get more athletic.
Is that something that's real?
I hear that. I don't know.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
I can't wait till I'm like 80 and doing
Yeah.
flips finally.
That's what I hear.
Now, throughout this podcast, probably going to call you Drew.
That's fine.
And so just so the people know, too, like when we say Drew, we're talking about you, not
That's
Drew,
fine, yeah.
Drew Cordero or whomever
Yeah,
else
yeah.
that we're talking about.
Yeah, don't. Okay.
Don't confuse him with Drew Cordero. Now, I got a hot one right off the bat.
Okay.
Why haven't you bought Top Rope yet?
We can't come to a
Financial agreement? Right.
Yes, I think is the proper way to say it.
Right, which means that Steve wants more money than you're willing to pay?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Right, yeah.
I mean, there's, I think that's in most businesses, and a lot of people have different ways of measuring their success and what their businesses are worth. There's the gator roll.
Oh,
you
the
guys
gator
were
roll
talking
right there.
about
Okay.
earlier. And it looks just as clean as I'm sure it did last night.
Oh, we didn't do it.
Oh, good,
Okay.
good. But that's basically it's financial. I don't think he really wants out of it as much as he says
that
he
does?
wants
I
out
got
of it.
you.
You know,
yeah.
because if he really wanted out of it, I think we would come to some sort of an agreement. But I think it's just kind of on the back burner and
Just kind of there.
it's there. But as the years have creeped on, I don't say I've lost interest in the idea, but how often can the carrot be dangled in front of your face
Right.
before you go?
Maybe I'm not going to chase
yeah,
that carrot anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I'll start doing my own shows, and I love the PAL, and I would love to keep the Top Rope name going because that's what I've been involved in and kind of dedicated my life to. Unfortunately, for the last 15 years, unfortunately, in a sense, you
Right?
know,
Yeah. No. It's
not because of what Top Rope is, but because of
wrestling in general.
well, I think I've given up other opportunities
Gotcha.
to stay loyal to Steve and Teddy in the Fall River area because I'm complacent, and not for any other reason. Because I'm complacent and like being a
Like, I can
small,
just drive
a big
right
fish in a
there.
small
Right,
pond. You know.
okay.
Oh, that's what it is. It's being a big fish in a small pond. It's funny. I always
You
tell
enjoy
the guys.
being that fish, though.
Yes, I do.
But you tell the guys not to be that
don't
fish.
ever.
It's because you're that fish, right? Like,
well, when if this guy, like I used to say it to Taven and Vinny, because they used to wrestle at the VFW in Fairhaven, I'd be like, what, you happy being a big fish in a small pond? Like,
Right.
Get the fuck out of there. But if I were to be completely honest with myself, I think that's a big reason why I never went anywhere is because I was here at Top Rope, and at Top Rope I had some sort of power and pull, and people respected me, and having to go somewhere else meant I had to start over.
just to
and
sit there in the back.
yeah, and you had to start over, and the ego gets flattened, and it's awful, and I shouldn't have done that, and but it is what it is. If I was being,
But you also took hand in training a lot of the names a lot of the talent that come from the area and stuff like that. Putting in the time in Top Rope, you were a big influence on a lot of them guys in their wrestling careers.
some of them.
Current, like 3 of them that are the
Yeah,
current
I mean,
ROH 6
maybe
six
3 of
man.
them.
3 specifically.
Yeah, I mean maybe the 3 of them, but
Well, you were talking earlier about how you find guys that you want to get behind and
Yeah.
train,
Yeah.
and some guys you don't. Those
Right.
3 were obviously 3 that you were really
Right,
interested
right.
in, right?
yeah.
So who are some of the other ones? Like I know you got Matt Magnum. You were big on.
Yeah. So during that time, I think Taven, Vinny, and Magnum. Actually, Magnum was the first.
Yeah.
Magnum's the first guy I saw, and I was like, this was at the soccer center
In New Bedford.
in New Bedford.
When ACW
When
was running
ACW
there?
was running there, I was like, why is this kid wrestling here? He
Right.
was probably 17 years old, had a decent physique. He was kind of small, but at this time, height and shit doesn't matter or anything, and you can gain weight. And,
Right, yeah.
get lifts in your boots and shit like that. So I was like, what's this kid doing here? So when I got the opportunity to talk to him at the VFW, I was like, yeah, basically, why do you want to be a big fish in a small pond?
Same,
What do you,
same spiel.
And he didn't take the bait. He was loyal to Vinny, and I just figured Vinny was fucking Nero, and he was a dumbass, and didn't he didn't get it, and
Right,
he never
time.
would.
Right.
But to be fair, I never really gave him the opportunity to not, to not be like that.
And for people who don't know, Nero is when Vinny Marseglia did like Randy Orton.
Yeah,
kind
he
of
was Randy
thing?
Orton at the time.
Which is weird to say, right? Like,
No, if you know Vinny, then it's not that weird to say.
He had the same tattoos and everything.
Yeah.
He looked like a bootleg version of him.
Yeah, a smaller. It's like he got into the Honey, I Shrunk the Kid machine.
right, and just dropped him down
all
a
the
little
way
bit.
down, and it got rid of the charisma too.
I like
Just
to think of it as like a dollar store action figure.
Yes,
the bootleg
yes.
wrestlers. Like
Absolutely,
he was the
that
Randy
was
Orton
him.
version.
So I remember I was at a show and I saw Taven, and I talked to him, and I think Taven knew. He's
Right.
like, I don't want to be in this VFW, but it's what I've got right now. So I said, you come with me to Spikes, and so he would come to Spikes with me, and that was it. But you could tell. I mean, he's tall, he's in shape,
yeah.
he's handsome, like
He is handsome.
athletic. Like,
Yeah.
There's certain characteristics you see guys have, and you're like, you don't want to waste that.
Right.
You want to at least try. Like, I'm not tall, in shape, or handsome.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. Nobody's going to pick me from a lineup.
But when you find that tall,
Yeah.
athletic, handsome
You go.
guy,
You have
come
an
with me and I can
opportunity.
teach you some
yeah.
stuff.
Not even I can teach you some stuff, but don't make the same mistake I made, which is to stay in one spot your entire life and
Right.
not try to make it elsewhere, especially if you want that, which he did, obviously, because he's
he's
dedicated his life to it, and he lives and breathes wrestling. So, and you need to do that
to be a part of
be a part of wrestling.
to make it a full-time living.
right.
You have to immerse yourself
Absolutely,
into the
live
culture.
and breathe wrestling.
And that's currently what they're doing. ROH Tag Team Champions, those three dudes, and TK.
And TK, yeah.
Now, how did you first meet TK? Was that like a tryout thing?
Actually,
or?
it was. TK was the first guy that stayed through an entire, like, from an open house through
Right.
training. Everybody else, you got a cat?
Yep, three-legged cat.
That's, holy shit, it does have 3 legs. That's crazy. Do you have the other leg around here somewhere?
It's on a necklace. He wears it as a super.
That's awesome. Did you buy it with 3 legs, or?
We adopted it into the family.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Steve loves cats. Ricardo.
Right, he does.
I've got 2
They
cats.
have their own house.
I have 2 cats, and they weren't even mine. I hate cats. One was my brother's, and the other was my mother's. And they somehow just they ended up
You
becoming
acquired
mine.
them? You somehow
I acquired them,
acquired
and I
the
hate
cats?
them.
Yeah. So do you like talk shit to them while you're feeding them?
Well, one night I came home drunk
Yeah.
from a show, and I knew that Mitzi, that's my mother's cat, was Mitzi. I knew.
Like
I
Pauly
knew.
Shaw's mother?
I guess so.
Mitzi Shaw, she runs like the improv. And stuff.
All right. See, I didn't even know that. Mitzi, which I call her Mitzi Cat on the treetop. That's her full name.
Okay.
If you a legal name.
Right, yeah,
That's
that's
her legal name.
It's a government name.
Yeah. But she was looking at me. I think she knew I was drunk, so I was like trying to pretend I wasn't drunk to trick the cat. And
Right,
then I was
right.
like,
Clearly.
something's up with me, man. And then the other cat, he's just a ball of fur, and he's so dirty because he's an outdoor cat.
Yep.
So I just call him Ben the fuck cat.
Ben
Ben
fuck cat.
Ben the fuck cat.
Because fuck that cat.
Fuck that cat. But I also feel bad for him, so I let him sleep in my dirty clothes.
Does he choose to sleep in your
He
dirty
does.
clothes? Okay, that's
he
fine.
does. I stopped trying to get him to stop sleeping in my dirty clothes. I was like, well, I give up. I tap.
Then. Done.
That's it.
Well, so back to the TK trainings.
Oh, yeah. So
it's cool. No, cat tangents are completely allowed on the Mac.
TK was he did an open house. He actually, I guess he knew Scott
Yeah,
Ashworth.
I think Ash was his teacher or coach
something
or
like that. Which
yeah.
I mean, has got to be the best life you've ever lived if Scott Ashworth is your teacher.
Right.
You know,
I would love that.
I can't
like, for
imagine
real.
a better school.
Gym teacher?
Something, some sort of.
Your football
Well,
coach.
I probably
or-
wasn't like a math teacher.
Right.
I got the equations. But I guess Ash gave him my number, and he called me the week before a open house, and he was super like, I want to start now. And I was like, just wait a
just
week.
take a week,
you
kid.
know. I said, what's your name? He said, Steve Tukowski. So I said, okay. I looked him up on Facebook.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay. He looks tall and athletic and in shape. He looks like he can do something. I guess I'll reply.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because that's
is
the
that
first.
like your vetting process?
Yes. Yeah. If I get a email or a call or something like that, the first thing I do is go on Facebook and check out their
What they're
pictures and
putting out
stuff.
there,
Yeah. If they don't look like anything, or I just like if Monster Mack did it, I'd be like, oh, he can go to the open house, but if he doesn't show up, no big
nobody's
deal.
gonna be mad.
Yeah. But if they're people that I think have something to them, then I'll
Hey, wait a minute.
I'll go out of my way to say, hey, you should definitely come. So he showed up, and at the time, actually, he was there with Jason Daniels, and they kind of both started at the same time. JD came in through Blade.
Was it the same open house?
It was around
Kenway joined.
Kenway. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
You got no memory of when Ken. He's just
no.
always.
He's been there,
Right.
and then he left for like a year.
Well, yeah.
He started off with Jason, the smaller guys, and I was small when I first started. I was like their size. I was really skinny. I'm a fat fuck now, but I was really thin, So when they're thin, it's I'm just go to the gym, gain some weight, whatever.
Protein.
But that's it. But Kenway he didn't want to.
Yeah.
He seemed to get it. The idea of wrestling and the psychology behind wrestling, and that was impressive because most people are completely opposite.
Yeah, they get the athletic
Right.
part, but not the mental.
But he's come back around in the last 6 months or so and seems to have a renewed focus. Whether or not it goes anywhere is entirely up to him.
Look, he was on that the BCC show with the Hardy Boys and stuff, right?
Yeah. But that's because he sold tickets.
Is that a thing? Is that why Chris James was on that show?
Absolutely.
Because he was in that.
No,
same,
he was on the show because come on, look at Chris James.
Well, he goes to practice, right? Is he a regular?
He goes to
or?
training.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a regular. I wouldn't say he's a regular. I mean, Chris is probably a guy that's never going to get any better ever.
Right. You think he's hit his?
He's at his peak.
Yeah.
But he continues to go, and he doesn't just go to my training. He goes to Chaotic. I saw last week he went, and I know he's probably been down to Showcase and stuff like that.
XWA thing, I think.
Yeah.
Too.
So he's trying. And, you got to
now. What do you think
guy.
it is a physical thing or the mental
Both.
block? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are just meant to buy tickets.
Right.
And it's sad because there's a lot of people like that. And you don't want to be the guy that breaks their heart or the guy that tells them like, dude, I'm sorry, but
you can't be that.
You can't be that guy. But if you're not that guy, nobody's going to be that guy, and then you oversaturate the
everybody's
the
on
talent
this side
pool,
of
and
the barricade.
now everybody's a wrestler, and
right.
So it's hard, and
that was a weird deal from Showcase. I remember fans started becoming like referees and the commissioners and stuff like that. And
Right.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's kind of weird from like you guys used to sit in the crowd,
right.
And, cheer.
It is a bad thing. So we have a lot of fans that will come to open houses.
Yeah,
and
just trying to get an inside
just
look.
Just try. I think I can do it. That type
Right.
of thing. And I think we're rigorous, but we're not bullies. I mean, you're going to do your cardio and you're going to do your work, and
you're going to blow them up, right?
Yeah, and you're going to really wrestle. I mean, we're not, all the guys are trained to quote unquote shoot.
Right.
At least take care of
themselves.
themselves.
Still the new like Nick Steele from
yeah,
Nick Steele
that would have been a
trainings?
Nick Steele thing.
Okay.
But I think the reason I like it because it doesn't really serve a purpose on the outside looking in. You'd be like, why the fuck you have to learn how to really wrestle? This is
Right.
fake shit. Da, da, da. But if you want to be really good at improv,
yeah, you gotta
build
where you
all
can
the kind of
grab and-
exactly. You need just and that comes with just kind of going out there and sprawling and working and feeling it out. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it looks sloppy and just all over the place.
And you go, okay, I'm never doing that again.
Right.
But there's been plenty of times where I found things just by just kind of sprawling about, and then I've used them later on in a match. Not to be, I'm not there bullying, and I've tapped out to everybody. I don't care.
Yeah,
hey,
when
you
they
beat
get
me.
you, right, yeah.
I don't care.
But that you have to. Some guys, especially younger, breaking in, don't have that
Right, and
ability to tap.
Yes.
when they
yeah,
should.
unfortunately.
And those are the guys that end up getting really stretched, really choked
Yeah,
out.
yeah, but not again. I I think if you were to look at it from kind of the outside looking in, you might think, oh, that's kind of bullying.
Right.
But if you kind of get through it, I think you eventually learn that it was being done for your benefit.
Right.
Because there will be, at that point, it's 5 years down the line and you're in a situation that you're like never been in before, but because you've been in these situations 5 years ago, or you've been in similar situations, you know how to handle yourself, you know where you are, you know where everybody else is, and nothing's going to kind of frighten you in the ring. It could be a scary place,
of course,
in the ring, and you're like, how many times a spot gets messed up in a match, and you see two guys with deer in headlights looking at each other. What the fuck do we do next? I take pride that my guys won't be like that, because they have been in situations that they just kind of work together and
get to where they need
not
to
even
go.
work together, but they've been they've sprawled and wrestled around to the point where they can be in any situation and they feel comfortable.
Right. Now, you were talking about the bullying and wrestling, in wrestling training.
Yes.
Like, that makes me think, Bill DeMott. The Bill DeMott stuff, he got released from NXT for, like, slapping people and calling them bitches and all that. Do you think that that's effective in some light?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That.
And why do you think that became such a negative thing?
Well, that's because they're a publicly traded company.
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. But football, if you ever played football, you ever play, wrestling, any sport really,
Nobody was screaming at me on the golf team, dog. They weren't in my face.
Nobody was. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
And that's quite possible. I remember we had a kid years ago who we lost because he was not feeling the
atmosphere.
The atmosphere. And I try to make the atmosphere conducive for everybody, like right in the middle. I don't want to. It's not too rough, and if it's something that's you can't handle, that's fine. Go sit outside and take a break. I'm not going to pressure you into any situations you feel uncomfortable, but I'm also not going to change the person I am, the way I was trained, and what worked for me. Wrestling isn't a business that you get your hand held and you're taken along or babied or anything like that.
Right.
So it's better to start you from the beginning and let you know, look, I'm your coach, I'm not your friend. If we end up being friends, that's cool.
Right.
But my job here is to ensure that you're trained properly, you're trained well.
Safely.
The safe for yourself and the person you're wrestling. And if you can't do that, then you don't belong in the ring.
So you think that bullying thing is effective, though? If you could get away with that,
I don't think it's bullying. I think it's tough love.
Right. Okay.
I don't think bullying is effective. I think bullying turns good people into bitter people.
Right.
Or just hateful people. But there's a fine line between bullying and tough love. I think the guys that I train, if I'm mad at a certain thing or whatever, I might go off for a minute and then I'll calm down and I'll explain to them, look, this is why I'm upset.
Right.
I've been training you for 2 years and you don't know to work the left instead of the right.
Or whatever the case may be.
Yes, that frustrates me, and I'm going to yell because I don't want to take it out.
Feeding up and turning the wrong way, or whatever it may be.
Right, whatever it is. So I think I can be tough love without being a bully, because I'm not. I think a bully tries to get himself over.
Right, and that's not what you're trying to do.
That's not what I'm trying to do. That's there's guys out there that I think definitely do that, and recently,
guys that you're saying that train?
That train people that I've seen that I'm like, they're just trying to get themselves over.
Okay.
Yeah, you're tough.
We get it.
We get it. You're tough. You chopped a young kid really hard. Like, awesome, dude. You're a tough guy. But like, I don't know. That to me, that's bullying.
Right. We walked into a show in Maine once, and they were running practice before the show.
Oh, was I on that show? Because I've seen the similar thing. Was it Larry Huntley?
Fuck out of girls.
That's funny.
They were beating up girls,
Yep.
like chopping. Yeah. Were you at the same show?
It was probably a different show, but it
With
was
the same scenario.
Same
yeah,
scenario,
just doing
yeah.
that.
That's their normal routine for training. Is like chop class.
Yeah.
Just beat the shit out of the girls.
Right.
like-
Right.
But they would, like, all the kids from class were just.
Right. I won't do that. I don't do any chop shop. I think it's ridiculous. to me, that's kind of bullying.
Right.
Let me chop this guy 15 times in the chest and make him bleed. Well, what's the purpose when you could just take the guy down and put him in a twister or something like that,
Right.
and and not leave any physical marks, but still get the same point across that this isn't as fake as maybe you think it is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I feel like the bullying in wrestling has gone down drastically over the last since the 2000s. Or
Yeah.
early
Well, it's
90s.
more PC culture,
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, but it doesn't. You still, after a show or something, you still run into,
Of course.
a lot of fun, and some people can take it as bullying, and
Some people can't.
right.
Well, I remember a specific occasion
Oh God, I
during
think I'm thinking of
Halloween.
Yeah.
And a friend of ours, you may know and love him as
Yes,
well,
I do.
Trevor.
Trevor, yes.
He was dressed as Monster Mack for Halloween and was at the VFW bar
Yeah.
for a Halloween party. And you thought he was the kid from class, right?
Yeah.
And realized it wasn't him. Oh, I can't remember this.
You were real adamant on knowing who was playing
Yes.
Monster Mack
Right.
that night, so you kept asking him to remove his mask.
Right.
He wanted to keep the kayfabe.
Right.
He wouldn't do it. So
He's holding true to the sacred
Yes.
luchador.
Right. And
And,
I'm pleading my case. I mean, like, dude, come on! I just want to know who you are.
He's just. Was he doing a voice too, or
I
this
don't-
was
I don't
previous to you
remember.
really where you knew him well?
No,
right?
I knew him. He was at practice because I remember saying, "Are you the?" I said the R word.
Right,
at the time.
right, yeah. I was gonna say, I remember it being
Yeah.
very
I said, "Are you
hard R.
that R retard?"
retarded kid from practice.
From practice, and then I was like, "Oh, you're not."
because
Like,
he got a haircut.
yeah,
right? He cut
yeah.
his facial hair.
And I was like, "Oh, you're definitely not. Now I really want to know who you are." Yeah,
and so then you ended up shoot wrestling him to the ground
yeah.
and removing his mask.
Yeah, and I was right.
Now, where
it was the
where-
retarded kid from practice. Yeah.
Where's the line on there of tough love and
Oh, that wasn't tough love.
that was bullying?
That was me being a jerk, and no
to me, it's
excuses.
just a funny story.
I thought it is funny
It is a funny
looking
story to
back, but I'm
tell,
sure
yeah.
it wasn't funny for him at the time.
maybe right afterwards.
But I'm certainly guilty of being a bully.
Sometimes.
It's in my character. I was bullied when I was a kid,
Right.
and I think it's something ingrained
Carried
in me,
over,
and
carried over.
it is what it is. I was, I had how many? 3 brothers, and two older, and they were bullies, and it just kind of
happens.
Yeah, just- I don't know.
You're like, this guy's smaller than me. I'm
Yeah,
gonna pick
yeah,
on this motherfucker.
yeah. I don't think it was no, because I don't
a
just
size
pick on
thing.
smaller guys.
No, I
Because Jordan was there that night too, and he's a lot bigger than I am.
than most.
So certainly that's not. That
You were
wasn't
picking on
upsetting.
him that night too.
I was probably picking on everybody.
Okay,
It was a bad time in my life, and
Gotcha.
it still is.
Currently?
So
Like,
yeah,
currently a bad time?
That time has not been
hasn't ended
erased
yet.
yet,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
we'll get there.
as long as you don't shoot wrestle me to the ground and try to remove
No,
my
no,
mask,
no,
it's
no,
fine.
no, no.
Because Uncle Danny's gonna be pissed.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But so that's like you had mentioned the way that you were trained.
Yeah.
That was kind of the same way that tough love.
Yeah.
Who were some of your trainers when you first and how did you find out about the classes?
I actually initially started with Mike Sparta.
Ooh, that brings up a different story
Oh, okay.
because previous to being the Max or Monster Mack was a Mac, we used to like film shows and help set up and
Yeah.
do all that jive. And we went to a Mike Sparta show
Yeah.
that D'Lo Brown was on.
Okay.
And during the day, like we were setting up the tripods and all that jive, you showed up.
Yes.
You climbed to the top rope.
This
you
was
did
at
some flips.
Massasoit Community College.
I have no clue.
It was.
It was a
Yeah.
college. It was big.
Yes.
You were doing some flips off the
Yeah.
top rope,
Yeah.
working around a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you were gone.
Yes.
What the hell happened? This was a question that we've had for
yeah.
years.
I have really, really, really low self-esteem.
Okay.
So I was new to wrestling, and I thought that Mike Sparta's show were head and shoulders above Yankee Pro Wrestling shows, which is what I was wrestling
When
at.
used to.
So I went there, and I was on the show. I was booked for the show, and I flipped around in the ring because that's all I knew how to do at the time.
Yeah.
I can flip, and I just felt like I didn't belong on the show. So I left.
The level of talent on the show?
Yeah. I felt like I didn't fit in, so I left.
Is that something that you had done before, like kind of bounced from shows? Or
No.
Was this like your first time branching
This
out
was
of-
my first time booked for his show.
Okay.
And I mean, I knew Mike because I started with Mike. So he did it afterwards. He was like, "Where the fuck were you?" And I was like, "Dude, I didn't feel comfortable on your show because you got all these guys, and I'm not like them. I'm shitty." Yeah, I just felt like I wasn't exactly. So
Was that your first booking outside of Top Rope?
I believe so. So it was just a self-esteem thing. I didn't feel like I belonged, and that's a trend going back for shit since I was a kid.
Right.
That when I feel like I don't belong, I just up and leave.
Just dip out.
That's it. I don't say anything to anybody, and then I go home and I
You contact somebody
eat a
afterwards?
pie or an ice cream, and I'm like
Just feel real bad about
feel
yourself.
really bad about myself. Yeah, it is what it is. That's exactly what happened. And I was going skiing that weekend too.
Right, and you were
so I
like,
was
"Man,
like,
go
well,
take some
fuck this.
bumps
I'm
and
just
shit."
gonna leave.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go early. So I did. I grabbed my shit and I went skiing.
Just went skiing immediately. Yeah. You left that show.
That's it.
right into a ski,
Yep.
like a lift, a ski lift.
Yep. And at that time, I think I also got conflicting reports from both sides. Like Sparta was telling me that Yankee Pro Wrestling was the shits, which
Right.
I could see as a person outside looking in. Like I was like, there's a lot of guys here that are really
Not great.
not great, and it's kind of like a free for all. Anybody can come in and wrestle.
What year was that around?
2002.
Okay, that sounds
Ish.
accurate. Yeah.
But I started in 2001 with Mike Sparta, and he was starting this school with Tony Roy and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, here's my $500.
yeah,
and
down
then
front, up front, boom.
I never heard from him again. So then I went to Yankee Pro Wrestling, and I just figured the $500. My mistake. I fucked up.
Yeah.
No big deal. I was swimming in money at the time. So
Is that from the dollar store?
From the video
Or
store,
the
yeah.
99-cent video?
yeah, I was 19 and making like $1,200 cash a week.
Whew.
Yeah, and
Flush, son.
it was for a 19-year-old. That was a lot of money.
Now, did you hold on to VHS tapes until like their last dying days?
The
Because
VHS
I
tapes.
did.
The VHS tapes are currently in Steve Ricard's garage.
Like to
this
I just
day.
mean like you in general, like at
Yes.
home and stuff.
No.
because-
I don't have anything at home.
Oh, okay. Like I just finished buying. Like I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan, right?
Yeah.
I've had all his VHS tapes forever. I just finished buying the DVD. I bought Chasing Amy like 2 months ago on DVD. Finally, after you know what I mean. Like,
I saw that.
Never,
I saw that movie when I was. This is kind of funny. I was 16 years old,
right.
and I rented it from 99-cent video, which I ended up buying later on in life. And I go home. I skipped school. I left school. I was in school. I felt sick. I left. This is one of those like I don't feel like I belong. I'm going to leave.
I'm just gonna bounce out.
So I just left. I went to the video store. I got 3 videos. It's 3 for $2. Went home. One of them
hell of a
was
deal.
Yeah. One of them was Chasing Amy. I watched it. And at the time, I was going through, I'm 16 years old.
Right, just emotional.
I'm in love with
Yeah.
this girl from high school, whatever. And so I remember there was a scene where they're in the car, and he does this big dialogue.
I love you.
I love that thing.
Right.
And I was like,
Not
man, that
just- not
sounds
just
good.
as friends.
I'm gonna copy that,
Oh, that.
and I'm gonna send it to that girl. And I did.
Oh,
Cringeworthy.
what
was her response?
Oh, she ignored me.
it would have worked out better if you were in the rain and it was in
a
person.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Screaming at
Well,
her
I mean,
about
I don't. In my head, that's what was happening.
Yeah.
But, that's fucking. Man, talk about nuts. Wouldn't you? A teenager, man. There's so many hormones are going through. I would
Yeah,
never.
no, but I look back at those teenage years like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah,
like, I don't
yeah.
know what's going on.
No, I thought, man, when I was a teenager, man, I thought the world was my fucking. The world was an oyster.
Right, and you were going to shuck it?
Yeah. Well, I was going to find the pearl. I was
Gotcha.
the pearl. The world was an oyster, and I was a pearl. And that's bullshit. That's not what happened. I'll
So-
have another beer.
Yeah, I'll grab you. Oh, no, go ahead. Thanks, dude. But, so, 99-cent video.
Well, so whatever. That was just kind of a side story.
Right.
But Steve Ricard movies. Mike Sparta stole $500 from me.
Right.
I went to Yankee Pro Wrestling. The first time there, I remember walking in, and I went with my brother, and he's like, "Are you sure this is something you want to do?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "They all look like kids," and they did. They were all like, were you around during that time?
I was like filming shows around then. Yeah.
So it was like, what the fuck is this shit?
That's Jack Kruger and Annabelle. She's what appears to be a puppet.
Oh my god!
Speaking of Showcase Pro Wrestling and involving the fans into wrestling, she was a lifelong Showcase Pro Wrestling fan who would eventually, she's a little short girl, bring her on.
Yeah, let's make her a puppet.
Puppet.
No, good idea. So whatever. There was like Ken Yamaguchi, Mike Majors, Mike Bennett. There was just like a lot of like kids.
Right, just young at that time.
But that was the only place I knew. You know, the internet was fairly new at that time, so all I knew was
with nothing.
Yeah,
like you couldn't find that
Yankee
much
Pro
info.
Wrestling AOL hometown page. You know, so I went and I was trained by whoever showed up at that point.
Like rotating was probably like Don
rotating.
Vega, right?
Yeah, Don Vega and Blackheart. They were there. Baker,
Brickhouse, or
yeah, Baker was there. I know a couple times with Tex McCoy and Portuguese Stallion.
It was just whoever showed up that night.
Yeah, it honestly was. And my first training, Mike Majors fucked up my neck because he's like, "Hey,
on purpose or
no, he was another young kid who just I think I know
doing some shit."
He's like, "Let me try a pedigree," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're a professional." And so he did and fucked up my neck, and it's never been the same since.
All these years later.
All these years later, yeah.
Still just jacked up.
Yeah, fucking stupid. But I hated practice. I hated training.
From the go, just didn't like it.
From the go, I just didn't feel like I was getting. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit? This isn't,
What were you doing? Just 100
getting
hip
bullied.
tosses in a row,
bullied,
chopped in the corner.
I felt like I was getting bullied.
That's what it was like.
And
at
I
that
was.
time.
For me, I was a 20-year-old guy with a video store,
right?
And I'm like, "Fuck this shit! I'm making all kinds of money. I get,
I don't want to come down here.
I'm not coming down here to let a
to get my
14 and 15-year-old. Well, it'd be different if it was a guy.
Right. Oh, it was the kids.
It was the kids.
Yeah.
So and they're not beating me up. I'm letting them hit me.
Right.
I don't know how strong. You ever been in a bar fight and you're like, "Just hit me"? Like, no, it's not like I can fight back.
No,
if you fight back, you got in trouble. It's fucking stupid bullshit. So it got to the point where I was just like, fuck this shit. But it was the only thing I knew.
Right.
So I would show up before training because I was friendly with Joe,
Yeah.
So I would come before training and I would just do all my flips.
Beforehand.
That's
now,
it.
were you always like a flippy kid?
Yeah, I was a state champion springboard diver.
Okay. So that's where all the...
That's where it all comes from.
I was going to say, how do you pull off that shooting star? That's one I couldn't even fathom doing.
What is that? What was that called? That was like called it was a forward back dive with one somersault.
Because you're jumping.
It's a forward back dive. Yeah, forward back dive.
Your diving board
with
experience.
one full. Yeah, that was basically it. I mean, I did wrestling like freshman year, but I was just naturally gifted at diving, I guess. So I did that. I did that after wrestling and or concurrently, and I was just much better at wrestling, and when they told me I had to make a choice, I went with that because my freshman year I was already at States.
Right.
So I said, fuck it. I was going to stay with this.
Yeah.
And then my sophomore year, I had already gotten a scholarship offer, quote unquote, from Emory University in Atlanta. So my junior year, I placed 4th in the state, and everybody ahead of me were seniors.
Right.
So the thinking was, okay, I'm definitely placing first my senior year.
Right.
And then they didn't let me dive my senior year.
For just no reason?
Truancy.
Gotcha. So you're just always late, never showing up.
I was very sick.
Gotcha.
At the time. I had a lot of illness, stomach problems that nobody had an answer for.
Right.
And anytime I went to school, I would get sick. And everybody thought I was faking. But you can't really fake throwing up and turning white.
Right, yeah.
Nobody knew what the problem was. And
did you ever find out?
Yeah, I have an anxiety disorder.
I was going to say, was that more, it's kind of an anxiety thing?
It's an anxiety disorder, which at the time I didn't,
I was going to say, I don't know if anybody knew.
Yeah, anxiety. I don't have anxiety.
get over it.
I'm fine,
Right.
you know. But some kid tried to kill me my sophomore year.
Like,
this is
physically,
yeah. It was, tried to slice my neck. Yeah. And this was right after Columbine, so it was still fairly new.
right?
This
Yeah,
kind of
that
thing.
feeling in the schools.
Yeah. So he did this whole thing about trying. You know, he was going to come after me. He put posters up all over the school of me. He was getting kids to. I wasn't the most popular.
Right. So
I was well known.
No big crew of
Yeah.
homies behind you.
Yeah, I was the class president, but nobody seemed to like me.
Gotcha.
And he was a senior, and he got a couple other seniors who didn't like me because I was a bully, quote unquote. I was a vocal bully. I thought I was being funny,
right.
you know.
Okay.
But I guess they didn't find it so funny.
Yeah.
So, and he was crazy. So whatever, he tried to kill
Clearly,
me.
right?
and-
Like clearly.
but
he was
so
crazy.
the thing is, so whatever, the thing goes down. He doesn't kill me. We're able to kind of stop it.
right
and-
before
it
anything
happens.
gets too escalated.
It was like Thursday afternoon before they. It was supposed to happen Friday afternoon. Thursday afternoon, they finally confronted him. Found out who it was. Confronted him, and he had this whole notebook about how it was going to go down. He was going to kidnap me, put me in his basement, lock me. It was crazy. Right?
Jesus.
They suspended him for 5 days. That's it. They were like, "Nah, I wasn't serious."
Yeah,
Well,
he just wrote some shit down.
his father had worked for the city.
Gotcha.
So they suspended him for 5 days. Oh, don't they placated me? Don't worry. And after that's when I started getting sick.
yeah.
But I couldn't.
You didn't put the two
No,
together.
I didn't.
Or...
Because I knew I could take care of myself, and my brother went to school with me, and he was a tough,
Yeah.
motherfucker. So I knew I was protected, but internally, I guess my body was.
Yeah, it was there. Like that feeling was there of unsafety, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So my senior year, finally, they were like, "You can't dive anymore, because you're not coming to school." Which I was. I was on a half-day program. But they weren't letting me have it, and they weren't even going to let me. They weren't going to let me graduate. They weren't going to let me go to prom. And at that point, I had a family advocate was like, "Hey, look, if you fucked up to the school, you fucked up. So if you don't graduate him, we're suing you."
Right.
And they were like, "Okay,
Yeah, no problem.
You can
Yeah,
graduate.
Here's your cap and gown.
Here's your cap and gown." Walked because later that year, that kid who tried to kill me, he had plans to set himself on fire at graduation.
Jesus Christ.
And they were like, I remember a teacher came up to me and said, "Hey, you know that guy?" Because the teacher was always like, "He's harmless. He's harmless." He came up to me. He was like, "I guess you're right." I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, you know that guy?" I was like, "Yeah, Brandon."
that guy?
He's like, "Yeah, he was gonna light himself on fire at graduation, you know." And I was like, "Wow, that's really burning the house down."
Wah, wah, wah.
No, I didn't. I said, "See, I told you."
Yeah, you assholes.
But yeah, so that was my beginning of having
that
a
anxiety.
panic disorder.
So
and at the time, I didn't realize it was a panic disorder.
Right.
But yeah.
So you used to show up early to practice. You would do your flips then.
Yeah, and then so shit went down between Joe and Bob Evans, like the Score. Remember them?
Yeah.
They were going to Bob Evans' school, and
That's right. They were going to Slam Tech.
yeah,
at the
they were going to
time,
Slam
right?
Tech, and it was kind of came down to this big like, you either go
Whose
here
side
or
are
you
you
come here,
on?
and they all went to Slam Tech,
For a while.
and I wanted to go with them because they were the only guys I got along with, but Jamie Candido was like, "Oh, I'm going to put the cruiserweight title on you," and I was a mark, so I'm like, "Yeah, I'm staying."
Sticking around, son.
You know, so that I won the title offhandedly, and felt really guilty about it because the Score guys made me feel guilty about it.
Now the score was
Dan and
Dan
Brian
and Brian.
and Pat at the time.
Pat
Teddy
was
wasn't around.
IQ, right? Yeah.
Teddy wasn't around at the
Pre-Teddy?
time.
Rich Bass too, or no Rich Bass?
It was pre-Rich Bass, but Teddy was on hiatus.
okay.
So, whatever, they put the title on me. I remember I was leaving practice one day after I did all my shit, and Nick Steele was like, "Where the fuck are you going?" And I looked at him, I was like, "Nowhere." And he got in the ring, and I got in the ring. And what I liked about, again, it was kind of that wrestling aspect of it, the grappling.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember I grappled with somebody, and I just fucking tore this kid up. And Nick was impressed.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of, I was like, well, I guess I have something to prove to this guy.
Yeah.
And anytime Nick would put me in holds, and Nick would, quote-unquote, beat me up, but I never felt unsafe. Like I never felt like he was throwing me on my head.
You get uncomfortable,
right?
Like,
These other guys, I felt like they were trying to get one over on me.
Gotcha.
Nick, he knows he can kick my fucking ass.
Right.
I felt like he was teaching me.
Like this is why this,
yeah,
kind of hook here.
Not even because Nick will tell you he doesn't. The why aspect of wrestling is not his forte. The psychology behind wrestling is not his forte.
But that's because he knows how to grab you.
Yeah, he was the history of wrestling.
Gotcha.
And when he put me in holds, I never felt like he was trying to bully me. He had no reason to bully me. He could fucking tear me apart.
Right, put you to sleep right there.
But he wanted to show me how to be a better guy. So he's like me when I looked, I saw Taven and all these guys at the VFW. That was him to me. He saw something in me that maybe I didn't see myself, and he nurtured, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say he's a nurturing guy. But
is that who you look at as your trainer? Is
him and
Steele?
Spike?
And Spike, yeah.
Yep.
Well,
those are the guys I spent most of the time with. Yeah. Well, Nick, I only spent like a year with Nick because he had issues going on with him, and he ended up leaving. And at that point, I think we were maybe bringing in Bob because we had a relationship with Bob at that time.
Okay.
So we were doing Bob and Baker on like Tuesdays and Thursdays. They would alternate. And I was going to Slam Tech and working with Chris Venom. So I wasn't really working with Bob. I was working with Chris Venom. And he kind of put the psychology things in place.
Right. He planted the seeds.
He explained it of how it should be. So Nick would give me the history, the kind of the real thing of wrestling. Chris Venom kind of gave me the psychology of wrestling, and Spike kind of brought it all together.
Right. Because we went to Spike's for a while. I went longer than he did and stuff.
Yep.
And I always thought Spike showed people how to have a really good TV match.
Yeah.
Like that was like his specialty.
Yep.
And I love that shit personally. That I know how to I can look back and he taught you how to time out for breaks and stuff like that, which I always thought was real cool because you never really got that with like brick house trainings.
Yeah.
Or we went to Slam Tech for a while too because there's a lot of Chris Venom stuff.
Yep.
But Venom was not super hands-on at that time. It was like mostly Bob in the ring.
Okay.
And that's psychology stuff for sure, but it wasn't like TV stuff.
Yeah.
And I always thought.
Well, with I don't know. I just got along with Chris Venom.
Yeah. He's a good dude. I think we're gonna have him on the podcast.
I just never really got along with Bob, at least at the time.
Right. Bob has become a super positive, No, online, and it's cool. It seems to be working out for him well. Like he's doing a lot of cool stuff with the Hangs with Bob jive. But
yeah, well, he found his niche.
But back at that time, Bob wasn't exactly the super friendly
Bob was
dude.
an asshole.
Used to call me schmaltzy all the time.
He knows it. He was an asshole at the time, and you can still see to this day some of that lingers out.
Yeah.
I just did a couple weeks ago. I went to a Ring of Honor seminar with Nico. So Nico and Chuck are my new guys.
Nico is a small kid, right?
Not small at all.
Not thinking of the wrong kid.
Not even close to being small.
Okay. Big kid, yeah. Jacked.
He's a big kid. He's jacked. He's 6 feet tall and super athletic.
Okay.
So, I have been wanting him to go to Ring of Honor. He's only been around for a year, and you have to be around for a year to do it. So I was like, I couldn't get Vinny. Vinny was supposed to go with him because I wanted Vinny to kind of introduce him to everybody.
Right.
And kind of
usher him in.
Yeah, hey, let me speak up for this guy.
Right.
So Vinny kind of last minute ditched us, which is kind of Vinny's forte.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'm not going to have you go alone. I'll go. That's fine, whatever. Because Bob had invited me a million times to go. Come on down. I want to introduce you to everybody. Good people should meet good people.
Right.
Good trainers should meet good trainers. So I'm like, hey, Bob, I'm going to take you up on your offer. I'm going to go down with Nico. I'll be there. Great. I can't wait to see you. This is going to be great. So I get down there, and it really irked the shit out of me. Bob did not introduce me to anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm the fucking pervert in the corner just watching these guys wrestle for 12 hours a day for 2 days.
Yeah,
without. Look, I'm not asking you to stand up and say, Ryan Drew is here. Who the fuck is he?
Right.
But you could go up to Christopher Daniels and
say that. Yeah,
Silas Young, like, hey, this is Ryan. He's going to sit back and watch you guys train. He trained the Kingdom. He just wants to kind of learn and see what. Nothing.
No,
fucking nothing.
Yeah.
So literally, I talked to Bob for maybe half a second.
Yeah.
Kevin Kelly for half a second. They were all busy.
Right.
And I think Delirious might have said hello.
Right.
You know. But outside of that, everybody else, I'm this fucking 30-year-old pervert in the
dude in the
corner
back? Yeah.
who obviously has some sort of fucking autism. You know, like I have some sort of Asperger's because I'm not talking to anybody.
Right. Yeah. Just not saying a word.
You know. So that really pissed me off a
That
lot.
was kind of recent.
That was like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and or 4 weeks ago, and I didn't bring it up to Bob because I'm not that type of person. I don't want to make things awkward, so I'll just go on a podcast
to
and
talk
mention
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that really irked me.
So if Bob Evans listens to the podcast and that, if you eventually hear something from him,
or somebody's mentioned it.
Maybe
to him.
somebody can say something because I wasn't going to say anything.
Right.
Like that's kind of one of those things that like
But-
it's a minor thing,
Yeah,
but in the
but-
same sense, like fuck, man, I stood there for 12. Don't get me wrong, I learned a lot.
Yeah,
Christopher
yeah,
Daniels was fucking his shit. His training was so awesome. It's probably the best seminar I've ever been to, and I've been to some really good seminars. And everything he said, there's nothing more gratifying going to a seminar and the guy says 99% of the things you teach. You feel like, oh man, I'm doing something right. This is awesome. I'm doing something right. So in that respect, it was great. But in the same respect, I think to myself, I must have looked like a fucking
'cause
fool
no one knew who you
sitting
are, what
there,
you're doing there.
just looking like I fucking. So during lunch, everybody breaks for lunch, and they bring lunch in or whatever.
Yeah.
And I helped carry it in, and I was let me go get you coffee and whatever. But because it was break and I knew I haven't talked to anybody, nobody
You
there
felt a little
outside of
obligated.
Nico knew who I was. What did I do? I left. I didn't say
I was
anything.
gonna say,
I just bounced.
Could you pack your shit and get out of there?
I just left.
'Cause you
I
went
went
with
to
Nico.
Wawa because everybody says Wawa is so fucking great. It's Cumberland Farms.
It is.
Okay, I went there
They
for
got- they
half
got
an
some
hour.
Extra stuff you can hit.
I told Nico. I said, Nico, tell me when it starts up again. And that was it. So
Yeah.
he told me when it started up, and I apologized, but I didn't. I felt like an outcast.
just sitting in the back of
Yeah.
the room quietly.
Yeah, the only thing I got out of it was the great training from Christopher Daniels.
Now, were there things that you picked up from that training that you're now
Absolutely.
going to implement into
Yes.
your?
Yes, like I said, I mean, 99% of the stuff is kind of along the same lines of what I
Right.
teach anyways, which again, it's great because it tells me I'm on the right track. But there were definitely a couple things I was like, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
I never, everything's in context in wrestling. There are no rules. There's only guidelines. So when he says something, I just never looked at it from that perspective.
Right.
And that was,
Is there
more
anything
or less
specific that you care to share?
what
or?
no.
Yeah, nothing.
No.
You care to share? Okay.
You can go to my trainings and find
Figure
out.
it out. So that's
yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. At the
Tuesdays.
PAL
I'm
Hall.
Tuesdays, Nick's
Nick's
Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Bob pissed me off on that one.
Right. Even though he's super positive, Bob.
Yes, super positive. But you know what? Even if he is super positive, everybody has a bad day.
Right. Of course.
But not a bad 2 days. So I think the second day could have made it.
yeah. So what the hell, man?
Yeah. So, but it certainly wasn't a waste. Actually, I left that very positive seminar thinking I'm going to quit wrestling.
That was the mindset.
Yeah, that was like.
Is that why you had mentioned online that you were
No, I was just looking for attention.
okay? Because I had seen you post like, "I'm retired. I just don't need to have the fanfare goodbye
Yeah.
attention." Now, was that a shot at anyone?
No.
Because I know Fury just retired.
No,
and
no,
there's
no,
a
I don't-
DVD coming out about
No,
him.
no. Good. Look, wrestling's so funny because it's this kind of fake world that we live in.
It's a bubble.
It's a bubble. But you have to live in that bubble if you want to be
wanna
succeed.
Right.
Yeah, successful because that bubble is so open to everybody else now that
Right.
that's how you sell yourself. So no, it had nothing to do with Fury. I was just I don't even know why I said it. I think it was just I'm obviously slowing down.
Right.
And that's because my back's all fucked up and things like that. But I like to work my students.
In shows.
Yeah, because I get worried that they're going to wrestle guys that are all about the
getting themselves over.
but more just concentrate on spots and sequences and not about
Grappling.
wrestling or putting the psychology of a match together
Right.
and having things make sense. Which again, I'm not perfect at, but I try.
Well, your style has changed, right, throughout the years. Like,
Sure.
you used to do a lot of flippy stuff, and now it's much more technical, much...
Well, I was always mostly a tag wrestler.
Right.
So any single stuff is still new to me. I can't have those 5-star indie matches. I'm
Okay.
sure I could if I tried, I probably could. But I am
Not
a sloppy
you don't wanna put
200
that much
pounds.
effort into it
No,
with
it's
that?
not even effort. I'm a sloppy 200 pounds. I don't feel like people want to see that from me.
Okay.
I don't feel like it's believable. I think a nice kind of solid storytelling match that makes sense but doesn't maybe has a couple high spots that gets the crowd blah blah blah. And when I say high spots, I mean the crowd when the crowd is high,
Crowd
not
goes up. Yeah. Not specifically
not
flips
a
and all that
flip
shit.
or anything like that. Get the crowd up, and then just kind of bring it down. Let everybody else be the star. I think
Right.
I've always been good at kind of being in the background. Like even
Right.
when we were talking about high school earlier, I've always been like everybody liked me, but like on the low.
Okay.
Like I was
Yeah,
never
yeah.
a popular guy.
But everybody knew you. and they,
Everybody
like, were
knew
cool
me,
with you,
and they were
right?
cool with me. But it was only like when other people weren't around.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like, oh man, he's really cool and funny, but not when my friends are around.
Right.
Same in like, I could teach Taven and Vinny and TK, and they take a lot of what I've trained them, but I can't do that on a show and have that same impact
Okay.
because of just who I am.
right. Right.
And what I look like, and what my charisma level is, and things like
Compared
that.
to theirs.
Yeah. So we're just different people, and whatever the tools we can use the same tools, but it's going to come out differently.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, is that when you train? Do you give those guys time to do flips off the ropes and all that stuff? Do you bust the crash pad out?
They can do that later on.
Afterwards?
Yeah.
So after you leave, though, but when you're
Not
there,
when I
it's-
leave. I'm there the entire time.
Okay, so you stick around.
I'm very hands on.
Yep.
The minute I get in there, I get in the ring and I'm working with them, and till the very end. If they want to do crash pads, I might get a little froggy, and I'll show them I can still fucking fuck you, watch this,
Yeah.
and I'll still
Sweet
bust out
moonsault.
the exactly and do it with ease, and they're like, I never knew you knew how to do that, just to kind of
yeah,
I can
just by the way, guys.
right, just so you know, I can still do this.
Now, now, do you literally go out there and like give them advice, like tilt your head back, and
Yeah, I mean, like,
or is it
it's-
more of a let them kind of figure it
no,
out
no.
themselves
When
kinda
it comes
thing?
to that, you don't want to just kind of let them.
Just
but I
go.
think people that are interested in doing something like that kind of already have this kind of idea
right,
of how to do it.
right. Like I had a friend named Dave who used to be able to run and backflip off walls and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, he'd probably be able to do a moonsault, no
Exact-
problem,
easily.
Yeah,
So they kind of already have the idea in their head. They just need a little prompting.
Gotcha.
And that's where the diving comes into play, because I use a lot of because I also taught diving.
right.
So it was always, your body follows your head type of thing, and swing your arms this way, then come back around and grab the tuck position, things like that.
Now,
I'm sorry to disrupt your phone call.
no, no phone conversation.
I'd like to talk about Craig Coster a little bit.
Okay.
Legit fireman.
That's weird.
Well, I'm a
Of all
fan
people
him.
to bring up, Craig
Well,
Costa.
he goes to your training. And
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
No, he hasn't been there for years.
Oh wow.
That's why before the podcast I was like, why are you bringing up Craig Costa?
No,
Like,
he
I
hasn't
don't-
been. He started coming, and he's a guy who can get by on his looks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think my training was good for him.
I see. Because I was interested because he's a legit fireman.
Yeah.
And I wanted
It's
to
a-
know a little about his transition between
No, it's
fireman to pro wrestler.
his transition was all about his body, and he knows that.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he wasn't a great worker. He did what he could, and tried, but he didn't. Coming to my training didn't work for him. Nick's training worked for me. Baker's didn't. But it worked. Baker's training worked for most people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Nick's didn't work for most people. So it was just kind of opposite. So I think Craig probably worked better maybe with a Nick training, whereas, my training just wasn't for him.
I see.
So it wasn't for a lot of people. It wasn't for him. It wasn't for. I know Jimmy Preston used to come to my trainings. AG used to come to my trainings, and eventually people just kind of. It's not for them anymore.
Right. Monster Mack, make sure you cross off Craig Costa on your notes over there. That's something he's been talking about. He wanted to bring up all day. What was on there? DDP going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
I don't know why he specifically wanted to ask.
here's a
you,
funny
Drew.
story.
Is
So
it a DDP story?
DDP came to the PAL a couple years ago
Okay.
when that thing about his Arthur was coming out. Remember Arthur?
Yes.
DDP Yoga. So it was a fairly good deal, though he didn't draw. And he's standing in the ring and he's doing a promo about DDP Yoga or whatever. And Steve Ricard's he doesn't have a Videotron or whatever they call it.
Right, yeah.
He's got a curtain.
Right, that they just project.
Yeah,
stuff
and you
onto.
can't really. It's not even like it's a stretched curtain or anything like that. It's just a curtain hanging there,
Yeah.
So we're standing there, and DDP's doing his promo, and they're playing the Arthur video, and he stops mid-track, and he goes, "Hey, can somebody fix that curtain?" So me and Taven get on the ground, and we stretch the curtain
Pulling it
out,
yeah.
So now I call it the Curtaintron.
The Curtaintron?
It's the Curtaintron.
All because of DDP?
All because of DDP, yeah.
Now, you mentioned in the Curtaintron and stuff like that. If you were to take over Top Rope, what were some of the changes you would make? I know you and Steve differ on what you guys want to use for talent.
Yeah, that would probably be the
big one.
That would be the major. Role,
what is it? What kind of stuff do you want? And Steve likes big, jacked.
I don't. No. He does, and I do too, to an extent.
Degree, right?
Yeah. I like. I like my students.
Of course.
First and foremost, and that always seems to be a matter of contention, is that I'm big on kind of pushing the guys that we train.
Yeah.
That,
Speaking of your students, we got Buck Nasty.
That was never my. That was actually
He is a Spike guy, right?
He is one of the only. There's two people that are really like legit Spike students. And that's Buck Nasty and Leah Morrison, who doesn't even wrestle anymore.
And they were the
they
first
were
two to
beginning and started with Spike. What was I saying?
Who you like? The differences you would use.
Oh
in
yeah,
wrestling,
yeah.
Like,
so the way we do it now is like it's a culmination of like who I want, who Teddy wants, who Brandon Webb wants, and who Steve Ricard wants.
Now is that per each show, or
more or
you
less?
guys kind of have your own little
but,
deals?
I mean, I think we try to work with each
Together.
other. So my Brockton shows, like I let Brandon, do more or less whatever he wants, but I also want a build, like I want there to be a build for an angle and a blow
sort of blow off in the show.
Because I'm a hard believer that blow offs, even for two guys that people don't know, will draw, and it's proven in the past. Because me and Nick did a little feud that culminated in a dog collar match, and that still to this day is the best drawing show that we had there at the VFW. But it was built over several months.
Yeah.
So I might take the lead in that and give it to, like right now I got Nico and Chuck, and I'm like, no, we're going to do Nico and Chuck, and we're going to build that, and we're going to build Jason and Nick Westgate and the closers, and then in August they're going to have the big blow off, and down the line. So I might take more of a role like that, but for the most part I let them do what they want to do, because I don't. When I was booking, I hated people sticking their nose in.
Okay.
And I understand Steve, because Steve's the boss. He's the boss man.
Running the show.
But still, you're still like, come on, give me some leeway here.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the big difference, and it wouldn't even be a huge difference.
Right.
But
who are some of the guys that you would want to use that? I want to say you haven't been able to use in the past, but maybe not use.
I don't think there's
often.
anybody specific out there right now. Probably Vinny and TK. I'd still be using them.
Right.
But
their deal,
whatever happened, they were kind of shitty last year when things were starting to go down, and they know it, and I've told them that. But I don't hold grudges.
Right. But they know that.
They know. I was very disappointed in them. I have a thing where all my students at some point break my heart.
Okay.
And that was their
deal.
Moment. Yeah. So it's held up to this day. They've all broken my heart at some point. Every single one of them. Taven, TK, Vinny, AG. They've all torn my heart to shreds.
To shreds.
Is
that the biggest downfall of being a trainer?
Yeah.
Because you become so emotionally invested.
You become attached.
To these
and
guys,
invested.
Right?
Yeah. But it's all for different reasons. Like Vinny and TK's wasn't a huge deal, but they had committed to an angle that was going to culminate in a big steel cage match, and usually, I'm not. The crowds are just there to see a cage match, whatever. But they knew a month ahead of time that they weren't going to be there, but they still played it up like they were going to be and cut promos and stuff. And then it's like two weeks before the show, they're like, "Nah, we can't do it because Mike O'Brien's going to fly us down to fucking North Carolina to be with the Hardys." And I'm like, I understand you want to be a mark for the Hardys, but you're already basically getting signed to Ring of Honor. Like, this is not going to do anything for you.
Right.
I never ask anything of my. I don't think I ask much of my students. Not like I ask them to wrestle for free.
Right.
I don't ask them for much. But I said I put you in an angle. Could you, at the very least, finish that up?
Right.
You know, I know. Okay, you're not going to be able to fly down and hang out with Jeff Hardy this one time.
yeah.
You
It's
know?
probably going to happen again.
But that they ended up doing that. They ended up flying down and hang out with the Hardys, and I'm sure it was fun for them. But that did nothing for their career.
Right.
They could have done my show and followed through. It was hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you felt it was a direct attack at you?
Yeah, I took it personally.
Yeah.
I am super thin-skinned.
Which is funny.
Yeah, which is
because
funny.
like
but
you
that might be
often
why I
call-
always come out. I always.
as like a smart ass kind
Well,
of
I always get into kind of tiffs
with people.
with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're so thin-skinned.
Yeah.
Because like when we used to see you at like WCW shows at the VFW
Right.
hall, like as the evening's on and everybody's drinking, you'd be like, "Why do you guys hate me so much?"
Yes.
And it's like we don't hate you, Drew.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
I don't know about that shit. Like
Because that's
Our-
wrestling.
Our first top rope booking, we did a battle royal.
right. That's you asked us why we stopped going to your practices.
Okay.
And because when we were going to your practices, you booked us for a battle royal on the show.
Yeah.
It made me take my mask off.
Mhm.
You changed his name,
Did I?
and we were both just like, "Fuck that."
Are you sure I
You-
did? It was
yeah.
me.
You said it was too many masked wrestlers in the battle royal.
Oh, that might.
So you
might
made
have
him
been
take
true.
his mask off, and you made me go under the name of Bone Crusher.
No, I can't. I don't think I did that.
It's legit.
That was 100%
What year was
to
this?
you. The episode. There's an episode of like Top Rope TV
Yeah.
that battle royal is featured on. So I'm sure I can
Who
find
won
it.
that battle royal?
Buck Nasty, maybe.
No, then it wasn't me booking.
I
that
don't
was
know.
a Spike.
No,
Dudley.
it was. Well, Spike was training there,
Okay,
but you were the one.
I
Spike
stopped-
may have said it, but you're the one that
I
came up to us and
maybe,
said like
but I stopped booking in 2006, and I didn't.
it was
get,
before 2006.
and I didn't get the book back
Well, maybe it wasn't.
until 2010. So, not to say I didn't have a say
Right.
in certain things.
It definitely fell between 2006 and 2010 for
That
sure.
4-year
that 4-year
period, yeah.
span there. But like forever, always like we were like Bone Crusher and
I can't ever say, yeah, Bone Crusher.
right.
You know,
So, but that's the name.
yeah. I don't
It
know.
was weird. It was weird for sure.
Yeah, that is very strange.
And and then like you think because like I don't mind messing with you. Like I like joke around with you and stuff like that. But you always thought like that we hated you, that we thought you were a dick.
I think my outlook on life is just to assume everybody hates me.
Right.
Because I think wrestling has skewed my view because everybody's
reality?
Yeah, I think that everybody's just kind of
Working everybody.
and it's very backhanded, very shit talking.
Yeah.
And I think it there's very few. There's no friends in wrestling. I call it ABC,
Yeah.
acquaintances by circumstance.
Okay.
And that's what we are. We're acquaintances by circumstance. We're not
no
friends.
friends?
No.
Because we're friends. Me and him. Are
Sure,
friends.
sure. I'm sure there can be friends.
Gotcha.
But it's few and far between.
Okay.
As an example, like Vinny, for 7 years, I think we talked almost every day.
Right.
Well, now he's at Ring of Honor. We don't talk ever
At all.
or maybe once or twice a week. And it's not for long. I mean, we used to powwow, and hang out,
Right, yeah, like-
his family knew my family, vice versa. Now, it's not because it was because the circumstance.
Gotcha.
We were top rope together. We were training together. Now that has filtered away, and it's nothing against anybody. It's just that's life.
The way that it had
So
happened.
now his TK and Taven and all those guys down at Mike Antonucci's, and that's life, and that is how it is. But yeah, it's acquaintances through circumstance. Or by
How do you feel about your students now taking over as teachers?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not something that's
No, I had a conversation with Taven, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something. He had hit me up for, he's got a couple students. If you ever need any extra bodies,
yeah.
you use my students, which of course, I would. I would do that. I'm not against using other people's students, and I was like, oh, who do you want me to book? The degenerate gambler. I forget what the fuck's his name. what the fuck is his name? I don't know. There's one of his kids. One of
don't
his
know,
fucking
dude.
kids goes by a gimmick, the degenerate gambler. Okay. And he's like, "Whoa, what's wrong with that?" And he got really offended.
Like real tight about
yeah,
it.
which I thought was really funny because I am the same way.
Right.
And he's like, "Bah, what is Jason Daniels? What is Nico?" And I'm
What
like,
is a Nico
Yeah,
exactly?
and I was like, "Well, I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say here."
Right.
I'm saying, "Hey, man, if a guy wants to be a gambler, that's cool.
Right.
If a guy wants to be degenerate, that's cool." But he's like, "I'm a degenerate gambler."
He's
I said,
grabbing
"It's
his dick and he's
just
throwing them
yeah,
dice.
It's just funny." I said,
Right.
It's nothing against your guy. It's hilarious. Like what's your gimmick? I'm a degenerate gambler.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well,
So on the way to the ring, he's trying to place bets with
yeah,
fans.
and he's a nice kid. He's a nice guy. But it is funny, and seeing Taven get upset about it was it made me laugh because I was like, I get it.
Right.
Because if anybody tries to, I can say something bad about my students, but if somebody, what I was watching on Showcase before, Smith, guys know Smith.
Yeah.
He was in a battle royal, and everybody in that Showcase battle royal beat the shit out of him.
Which is ridiculous.
And I was like, you know what? It's okay if we do it because I think we're doing it out of love.
Right, yeah. Smith's one of your guys.
Yeah.
He's like a guy there.
But they were doing it to be bullies.
Dicks. Yeah, to say I'm better than you or
Right.
whatever. Which, I mean, may be the case.
Yeah, well, they are.
But for them to be bullying on guys like Smith and stuff like that, it's...
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Now that the beers are flowing.
Do you want another one? Or you good with that one still?
I'm good. And I'm not drunk. I've had one and a
I was
half.
going to say, it's like
I've had
1.5
one and a
here.
half.
Yeah.
I don't drink outside of wrestling shows.
Really?
Yes. Because I remember seeing somebody said it. I don't remember who it was, but it was Jose Perez. And
I don't remember who it was.
he had said something on his Facebook a couple months ago and was like, "Oh, maybe he's drunk."
Right.
And it really pissed me off because I'm thinking to myself, I don't drink outside of anything wrestling
Going
related.
to a wrestling related
I don't,
event. Yeah.
And after a VFW show, I'll have a few beers and probably get shit
hang out with
faced.
everybody.
I won't
and
get
stuff.
blackout drunk or
Right,
anything
right.
like that. But when I'm not wrestling or having, like we're doing a podcast now or whatever, I don't drink.
Right.
I don't have any alcohol. I just wanted to kind of clear that up.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
You said you had a question, though.
So
We supply the beers to open the guys up.
right.
So,
Which is why I
lubrication
drink
for life.
I have a good time,
Yeah.
know.
Life lubricant.
But if I don't drink after a show and we all hang out, I sit there miserable.
right, just
It's part of my panic disorder. I'm like I'm all. It's
all on the inside, right?
Yeah,
You're just in your own
yeah.
head
It's in my own head, and if there's people there I don't know, I don't trust what they're thinking, and
like you don't know what their motives are,
yeah,
right? And
exactly.
it gets to you.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's fucked up. But so I remember I was listening to a podcast years
Yes.
ago from when AG was here,
Yes,
and
that was at the other Mack mansion.
it was right after he had left me
yes,
for greener pastures, and he said, well, a little bird didn't want me to do the podcast. Was he talking about me?
no, he's talking about Steve.
Ricard?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Because I told him once not to do the podcast.
yeah, I'm sure.
Initially, and then because I don't like guys that are really new doing podcasts because they don't have anything to talk
Right,
about.
what's the right
After a couple of years, I can see
doing a thing?
doing something, but
Right.
I was like, "Am I that little bird?
Am I the bird?
Fuck
damn it?
that fucking motherfucker!
Now, how did AG break your heart?
He's a piece of shit."
That's how. Yeah, just being
he's a piece of shit.
You guys
He
still
actually-
beefing, or
I wouldn't. No. But
he's a piece of shit though for sure. Yeah.
you know what? Of all the guys that I've trained, he's probably the one that broke my heart the most.
the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's in Taven. I took pretty sad too because he was the first one. But I think AG's probably tops the list.
Yeah.
He's a piece of shit. Really, piece of shit.
Oof. Yeah, this took a weird turn. My bad, dog.
No, that's okay because I've talked to him
Yeah,
since. Being a good wrestler doesn't make you a good person,
Right.
And I do, in a sense, feel bad for him because
Being a bad wrestler doesn't make you a bad person.
right. No, and being a good person, I don't know.
However,
But whatever we're going along. But
whatever the
Anthony,
next step of that was.
Anthony, he's got a lot of talent,
Yes.
and he
Charisma.
can certainly make it somewhere and such. And I saw him at a PvP show I don't know, months ago, and he said, let's take a picture together. Remember where you came from? And I said, no.
Like, I'm good.
I'm all set.
Yeah.
Because to me, when he left, he had left me. So I am somewhat abrasive.
Right.
Okay. And I can be abrasive to my students.
Okay.
But it's
not entirely
it's
a bad
not,
thing.
No, and sometimes
Being
it's
an
kind of
abrasive person's not entirely
not entirely, and sometimes it's tongue in cheek.
Right.
The expectation is for me to be abrasive, so maybe I'm more abrasive than I need to be.
Yep.
And I think that at the time, he had been going to chaotics training for a while, and I was okay with that. I want my guys to branch out and stuff like that, but I am possessive.
Yep.
And so that's fine, whatever. And I feel like he was just looking for an opportunity to say, Ryan, I want to go there. I don't want to train under you anymore. And he was looking for that opportunity without making it his fault. Kind of like when you want to break up with your girlfriend, but you don't want to be the one that breaks up, and you blame it on her. Exactly. So I had texted him I wanted him to get TK on Lucky Pro Wrestling shows. And I got pissed because he wasn't doing it. And I know he books those shows. Or for the most part books those shows. So, like, I was like, something happened. And he sent me this big, long text about how I'm a narcissist and I don't care about anybody but myself. Just this really long text. And I was like, dude, I see right through this shit. Like, I know that you're looking for a reason to just train up there because that's where all your friends are.
Yeah.
I understand, like Donovan Dijak, Christian Casanova, Cam. Like, there's a lot of people up there that you train with and you are friendly with, and a lot more than what I've got down here, and you want to go up there from now on. But don't fucking try to place it on me. You're looking for an excuse to fucking do that. So he kind of did all these fucking names and name called me and blah, 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 blah. And, I would never, if I've ever had a disagreement with Nick, which I've had plenty of disagreements with Nick and disagreements with Spike or can't see, and I'm a shitty guy, supposedly. I can't see myself ever
name calling,
just being so disrespectful to,
because to, jab at that heart.
He was a guy that everybody thought was a shitty little mark. Little fucking ref mark. Why the fuck is he wrestling? Nobody trusted him. I remember Biff came up to me and was like, that kid's a fucking, just shit talking. Don't trust that kid. He's da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, he's a good kid. He's just trying to do it. I used to take him to the gym, my gym, because I'd be like, you need to go to the gym. I'd be like, come on, let's go to the gym together because I need it too. So let's be each other's support. We drive together for 2 years.
A lot as a ref.
Exactly. So I think I helped take care of that shit. When I was, stop messing with the kid. He's my kid now, and I'm not going to stand up for that shit. Well, when it was time for him to jump and go hang out with the cool people,
wasn't there like somebody pissed in his bag?
I think Caleb Seltzer did, but that was before me because I wouldn't let that shit happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was just before things were happening.
Oh, the Mack has
I think it was just before me because I was pissed about that.
Yeah.
No pun intended. So I was like, fuck that shit. Stand up for yourself. I'll have your back. Because if that's one thing, I think I always have my students' backs.
Right.
And I feel like he just kind of he took the easy way out instead of just saying, hey, Ryan, look, I've got a lot of friends up there now.
Right.
And it's nothing against you, and I really appreciate everything you've done for me. Da-da-da. But it wasn't. It was, you're a narcissist, you're a piece of shit, da-da-da-da. And, I mean, since then, he's been nice since then.
Right.
I appreciate all you've ever done for me, but it's not the same.
Right, it's not from that. And if you had made that statement initially,
he was. I feel like he was. We used to drive to practice together every week, and he'd pick me up, or I'd drive, or whatever. And so there was a lot of time to get to know each other personally. And I took that pretty hard. And I would have quit if it wasn't for TK, because TK was now my student. Right. And I felt like he had a lot of potential, so I owed it to TK.
Something new to focus on.
Yeah.
And help.
But I think that was probably the closest I was to being like, you know what, this isn't worth it. It's not worth it.
Is there some newer students in your class now that you see something in?
Nico and Chuck. Chuck O'Neill, yeah.
He did some of the Ultimate Fighter stuff.
Yeah, he was on the Ultimate Fighter.
Did Spicely
Spicely's there.
Hit the. No, I know he's there now, but was he doing like top rope
Yep.
too? Or
Yeah. Him and Spicely came in together after Biff left, and I'm sure Drew Cordero wasn't too pleased with that. But they came in and worked with me, and I really liked. I liked both of them, but I think Eric had a great ground game. He just came to it more naturally. Chuck is having some difficulties with some things, but he's growing. Each week I can see it, and he's just got to wrestle more and get out there more.
I actually went to high school with Eric.
Yeah.
He used to have dreadlocks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's funny, right? So me, like when I see him, it's weird looking.
Yeah.
Because he has like the short hair, but I'm sure to you guys, if you saw him with dreadlocks, you'd be like,
yeah,
what
what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, he was like a dirty hippie back in high school.
I would really like to see him come back to wrestling, and I hope that I hope things work out for him, obviously, in the UFC, and he makes a lot of money. But I think that he could also make some money in wrestling if that doesn't go. And I think Chuck will, too. I think in the next year you're going to see. I think Chuck and Nico are going to pop. Well, Chuck's got a nice background.
Yeah, buzz to it, right?
Yeah. So he can use that to his advantage. And, I mean, he's friends with Drew, and Drew's got Beyond, and that's a good platform.
For sure.
And
you
Nico,
meet a lot of guys there, too.
Yeah, you meet a lot of guys, connections, is good internet buzz, which does account for something these days. And then Nico's he's got it all. He just got to find himself, and it takes a little time to do that. I mean, he's only been around a year, so.
Right.
But those are my next two, in my opinion, that will come out and kind of, these are some good guys. And that Nico did the Ring of Honor camp, and he did well. So not great. I was disappointed, but
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't listen to me.
Okay.
I kind of told him, like, I think this is what you need to do in your match, because you get a 5-minute match, and I'm like, it's a camp and a tryout, so nobody wants to see you do a fucking headlock for 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
At this point, they understand you can
do that. Right.
This is time to get your shit in, and it was either him or his opponent or what. It just didn't. It wasn't. It wasn't his best showcase.
Right.
But we'll get another opportunity, you know.
I'm sure.
So.
Now, I heard that the last open house was like one of the highest attended open houses.
Yeah. A
lot of kids. A lot of people come back.
No, it wasn't a lot of kids, but a lot of people came back, and then slowly they fizzle out.
Filtered away.
Yeah, which is good. I've got a small.
It's
I don't
not
want
for everyone for sure.
I don't want a big class. Even now, I've, there might be 12 people there, but I'd rather it be like 8 good people rather than 12 middle of the road. Yeah,
not really.
Yeah, because I like to wrestle, and I like to explain things almost to the point of,
banging it into their head.
Yeah. I notice a lot of times, like I pick things up from all my old trainers, so sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm definitely being Brickhouse Baker right now.
Right.
Other times I'm like, man, I'm being a lot like Nick. But if I'm talking a lot, I'm like, boy, I'm like Bob.
Right, yeah, this
is
a
Bob
moment right now.
I can't stop talking. But because there's so many intricacies in wrestling, and how-tos and why not, and when's the right time to do this, and why it wouldn't be the right time to do this, and why some things people can get away with doing and you can't.
Right.
Yeah. So I try to cover all those intricacies.
Now, we're going to go full circle here, from people that you're training that you think are going to be good to something that I'm sure you love to hate, but bad pro wrestling.
I love bad pro wrestling.
Oh, you hate? Do you hate to love it, or you love to hate it?
I love to watch it and hate it.
Love to watch it and hate it?
Yes.
Because, we'll catch you. We'll see you at shows sitting in the back, grizzled and stuff. Now, I'm not grizzled. You look grizzled.
I understand that. I've got resting bitch face.
Right.
Okay, most of the time it's because I don't.
You got the scruff
I got
on your
the
face.
scruff. I got the. Yeah, I understand. And I get it. And actually,
you got your hood up sometimes.
Yes,
you're trying to hide.
The last I'm not. I've got a panic disorder. I don't like people. But I like some people.
Gotcha.
I like certain people. Other than that, being in crowds, being around strangers, it's not the most comfortable atmosphere for me.
Gotcha.
And I understand that it's kind of it's weird to be a professional wrestler and
to be able to go
in front of a crowd and
stuff.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's really.
But I do. If you were to come up to me at a show and I knew you, we could have a conversation and it wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But I guess I think it's a catch-22. Yeah, sometimes I show up. The last PAL show, I was fucking miserable.
Just not in a good mood.
I was pissed because I don't think I ask a lot from from everybody. I think from top rope, and I think I was put in a position to that it was embarrassing for me.
Okay.
And I feel like other people
match wise or
no, but there's people that have pull.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, people that are listening to this know about wrestling.
Right, right.
And, no fans are listening. No casual fans are listening to this.
Right.
So people have pull. Steve has, obviously, it's his company. But Teddy has pull. Brandon has pull. I have some pull. I try to stay out of things.
Right.
Okay.
When there's like disagreements and
you
such.
want me to lose to Spencer, you know, who's 100 pounds? Okay.
Sure.
Whatever you want. Okay. But if I ask, like, hey, look, I'd like to make sure that I have some time in the Rumble so that I can work with all my guys. And then you put me in for 6 fucking minutes. It's like, dude, I'm not asking for a lot. You guys on every fucking show, you're going through tables, Teddy was the fucking he held both belts.
Right.
At his request.
Yeah.
It was his request. It's not like we didn't want to take the belt off him. He said, I should hold the belts for a few months. Okay? Both of them. And we were like, that's fucking stupid. But he thought it was a great idea. Okay? So we bow down to certain requests.
Right.
I'm not requesting a lot here. I just want to be able to work with each one of my individuals. I'm not looking to go over. I'm not looking to get anything.
Right.
But I'd like to work because all my guys are in the Rumble. Even the guys that I don't think have any. Yeah, I'm still.
You still
I want to be able to work with all of them because I'm not sure what you guys are going to do to them. And that request wasn't even. It wasn't honored.
Right. That was.
And I felt like, well, what the fuck am I doing here? Like I don't ask much. I'm not asking to be the champion. I'm not asking to be anything. Right. I don't ask much.
A little more than 6 minutes in a Rumble.
Yeah. All I ask for is that. In this case, I think I'm wrestling Will at the next show. Fine. More than happy to wrestle him. Thank you for the match.
Kenway.
Right, Kenway. I'm sorry. But when I ask specifically for something, could you kind of throw me a bone here? I think I'm at every top rope show. I don't miss any. Last year, I think it was last year, Teddy missed a few and Steve missed a few.
Yeah.
Okay? Teddy missed a few for big time wrestling. And Steve missed a few for Monster Jam. I was at every single one. So my loyalty is unheralded, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm there at every fucking show. And I'm there every Tuesday. And I'm there for at least 3 hours. Sometimes I get the practice runs to 5 hours. I don't ask for more money, nothing like that.
There.
I'm just there. I'm very loyal. So when I ask for something specific, hey, I'd like to work with all my... I don't know. You can honor that a little.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I feel fucking a little offended.
Yeah.
So, and that was just me being a pissy bitch.
Yeah.
Which we all get.
For the most part, you're not in a bad mood at shows.
I try not to be.
Yeah.
For the most part. Nick has been gone for a couple, and he's kind of the guy that agrees with me on a lot of things.
Yeah.
We kind of have a similar mind track. Me and Teddy's, I love Teddy, and he's somebody I consider a good acquaintance through circumstance. But we don't have the same kind of vision. Vision, yeah. And me and Brandon Webb don't either. And me and Steve don't either. So Nick was my guy that I could complain to and be like, what the fuck are they doing? They're so retarded.
But that's kind of what you want, though, right?
It's just somebody
people with different ideas.
Sure, because Teddy might have a million ideas, but some of them are good.
Right.
They all revolve around what he wants to do, but some of them are good, absolutely. And some of everybody has good ideas and intentions, but the ego in you thinks I'm the only one that has the good ideas.
Right. Sometimes that ego is it's tough to quiet down.
Yes. But it had come to a point where I thought that it was after Teddy had the titles for both titles for X amount of months, and I just felt like it was built towards the Teddy and Brandon Webb show.
Okay.
And
Teddy and Do show. You can say it. We call them Do on the podcast.
Yeah, the Teddy and Do show. And not that it has to be the Ryan show, but I would like it to be at least the Nico and Chuck show too.
Gotcha.
Because look, I'm 35. I don't need to get over.
Right, you've done your
I've done
stuff, right?
I've had it's a young man sport. Let's push them while we have them, because I think in a year or two we're not going to have them.
Right. Yeah, they might be elsewhere.
Right. They might be elsewhere, and hopefully they are.
Which is a weird thing to say, again, as a trainer, right?
Because they're on their way
they're
out.
The kids that you're letting go.
By the end of the year, they'll be gone.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, they'll have broken my heart. and that's okay. That's in a sense that's a good thing too, because I don't want.
They
I don't.
have to break your heart, right?
Yes.
To break free.
I want them to go out, and I want them to learn, and I want them to wrestle different places. My thinking is, look, when it comes to regular indies, take Top Rope first. This is your home.
Yeah.
Regular indies.
Yeah.
If you get like an NEW show, then we can work around it, because I understand you want to wrestle in front of 3,000 people.
Big crowds.
Yeah.
Decent pay.
So let's work with it. If it's just kind of a 5-minute junket and I've got you in a spot, let's take mine first. But work with it. But if it's Ring of Honor or Dragon Gate or something like that, fucking go.
You gotta go, right?
So I want my guys to get out, and I want them to make a name for themselves, and I want them to, quote unquote, break my heart in a sense, in hopes that it'll come back tenfold and help us out in the long run.
Where they can come back
and
they have some sort of fan base or following that.
But
again, you can use to fill up the PAL.
Yeah, but everybody has their different ideas of loyalty and shit like that. So
now, you talked about how you've been mostly in tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
We've been watching Showcase this whole time.
Yes,
I have to bring up the fact that we once wrestled you and Matt Taven in a showcase match where you gave Monster Mack like 17 fucking German suplexes.
Matt Taven? Are you sure it
No,
wasn't
I'm sorry,
Magnum?
Matt Magnum.
Okay, I was
Matt
gonna say.
Magnum at a showcase show where you just Germans. You guys just beat the shit out of us with suplexes and stuff.
Yeah.
Was that tough love or was that?
It's because you're Marks.
Oh, it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Or at least at that time, you probably felt
At the
we
time,
were, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What is the well? Yeah. What is the well? Yeah.
Well, that's
why
what it was.
Because after the match, even you were like, you guys did fine. We should have gave you more stuff.
Yeah, I think again, it's that kind of get carried away. I think working with Matt was I love Teddy because he was my first tag team partner, but my favorite partner was Matt Magnum.
Yeah. You guys were the Heaters?
No, we were the Prestige.
Prestige, yeah. The Heaters were you and
Kevin.
Cordero.
But I think me and Matt had kind of a similar. We had maybe a Napoleon complex. Is that what they call it?
Right. When you just kind of angry and small.
We knew we could get away with it because what are you guys going to do?
Right. Yeah.
Type of thing.
Right.
And I honestly and then afterwards, typical Ryan, I feel bad afterwards.
Right.
Like know what?
Again, we weren't complaining. We didn't.
No.
Like,
and it's not like we beat you up.
No, you didn't.
But we didn't give you anything.
Moves. Yeah.
And we probably had just gotten into each other's ear, like, oh, let's go out there and wrestle. Let's go be wrestlers.
Yeah.
And
well, that's right. When we talked beforehand, you were like, we're just gonna go out there and call it. We were like, cool.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
I honestly think that was probably what it was that we got, and it was a different time for me. I was younger and in shape, and maybe a little more cocky. But I think a lot of times, it's hard because you want to protect the business, in a sense,
and try to weed out the people.
That you don't think belong. And again, who are you to decide who belongs and who doesn't? But if everybody feels that way, then everybody gets in. So it's a dichotomy there. So it might have been some of that, like, let's see if these guys are,
Right. Now, do you think some of that negative view on me and him is because we do things like the podcast and we
No, I don't think the podcast does any harm for you.
Show
I think it's the shows that you're related to.
You talking about the wrestling show specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it follows you.
Yeah.
It was like Vinny, what followed him is he did fucking NEP and WCW and it's nothing against these guys, but it has an idea of what this is, and it follows you.
Right.
So, same with who are coming to practice is the
cool people.
The cool people.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how can we get better? How can you get better? Well, the problem is you're doing all these shows that are really bad shows, and it's not or quote unquote really bad shows because they serve their purpose, but you're not showing any like you want to get
progress.
out. And progress,
right,
and get better, and that's kind of you've got to show that for people to kind of believe in you, and want you to do better and get behind you. Is that you've got to show that you're willing to change, and that's what you're trying to hammer home. And same with you guys. Like, you guys kind of have your shtick now.
Yeah, we're our own thing.
But still, where's the shtick? It's in Showcase and WCW and all these places that more or less anybody can wrestle for. Again.
Right.
They serve their purpose.
For sure, yeah.
So I don't want, Blackheart to be like, oh, you shit all over my show. Your show serves a purpose. But it would be faulty to believe that it doesn't have some sort of a bad stigma
Sure. Yeah.
involved in it. And I think when you're a part of that, you become part of that stigma.
That stigma as well.
Yeah. And it's
whether or
hard to
not
break
you
out of
rise
that.
above the stigma
Right,
itself or
right.
not. That's
It's
still
wrestling is constantly proving yourself to strangers that you don't think you should have to prove yourself to.
there. Right.
And you shouldn't have to, but I mean,
But you
it is what
apparently
it
have to,
is.
yeah.
So, it's like we're watching a tag match here. Like I don't know who these two guys are.
Which ones? Those two?
No, I know who that is.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
Sean Candido and Richie Rich. But I don't know who the other two
Todd
are.
Harris and his Virgil.
Yeah, Richie Rich is my favorite.
Yes.
He's my favorite bad wrestler.
WWF superstar.
Yeah, he always does a shoot drop kick to the knee. I love it. I love every minute of it.
Now, you say that you love bad wrestling.
I do.
And how often are you popping up at shows?
Probably
Like,
nightly.
Whenever you can?
Yeah.
Why were you not at Showcase last night?
The drive.
Just too far?
Yeah, my nephew came over last night, so I think I hung out with him, and they're huge wrestling fans. It's so
Right.
funny to watch. I'm like, man, is this what I was like when I was 8?
When you were-
Fuck,
yeah.
I was
Wow,
annoying.
as shit,
yeah,
yeah.
holy shit! I don't want to talk about Congo. They love Congo.
Congo, yeah?
Yeah. But that's why I didn't go. Plus, I feel like everybody hates me. So
Right.
I'd walk in there and
Humorously, right, when I came upstairs to go do my match, I asked Black, I was like, oh, is Drew out there? And he went, no, because he probably would have already posted shit on the show. Something funny like that. And I just remember, like,
but
I laughed.
I don't.
Right.
I try to walk the thin line of honesty.
And without being too
without
much of a
being
dick.
too much of a dick.
Gotcha.
But sometimes it goes hand in hand. I love Blackheart. I worked for Blackheart. Blackheart sold me my home.
Oh, you went through Showcase Real Estate?
Ireland Mortgage at the time.
Yes. Okay, now this is a funny thing.
Yeah.
Mayor McCheese once made a great joke on Twitter where it was like promoting Ireland Mortgage. Ireland Mortgage, if you need to try to find a small house.
Yes.
Because nobody knows better about small houses than Chris Blackheart.
Yes.
Such a funny joke. How'd you come up with it?
How do I've thought of this in my head of how I was going to explain it, because part of me was like, you know what, I'm just going to say I am.
Right, and just because everybody already thinks it, right?
Well, there's a handful of guys that are named, and I happen to be one of them. So I've always thought, like, why don't I just say I am, just to see
what's going to happen?
What the fuck are you going to do to me?
Right.
Just to see, but I'm
you anyway,
right. Well,
so.
but it's not.
Right.
It's not me. But I've always wondered, like, what if I just said it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, yeah, what are you going to do about it?
And then what happens then?
Yeah,
right? Like,
you
is
know?
somebody going to try to punch you in the face?
Right,
'cause you made
exactly.
fun of him
And
on
I don't
Twitter?
mind, like, I'm not saying I'm a tough guy, but I don't mind getting in fights.
Right.
So yeah, fuck it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see where this goes.
But even though I call him a shitbag on the show, AG can attest that it's not me.
Right.
Because we were at a practice one time, and I was in the ring running practice
while
McCheese was tweeting.
Yeah.
So I'm sure AG, and obviously I can attest to AG not being
him, right?
Not being him, because we were both at the same time. He was like, "Oh, Drew, look, he's tweeting. I guess it can't be you." And I think Steve Ricard was there at the time too. So as much as I would like
Steve
to,
one of the guys that people thought it might have been.
I don't think Steve has the patience to do that.
Right, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
So there's been a few names thrown out there, but honestly, out of all, I can't think of one. AG would be a good one, but because I was there when
you know it wasn't him,
I knew it wasn't him. So I honestly don't know, and it's been going on a long time.
It remains a mystery.
Sometimes I get offended when he makes fun of me.
Yeah, sometimes, right?
Yeah. On occasion, I'll get really heated.
Really?
I
now, do you think it's because he goes the personal route?
I reported
sometimes?
it one time.
Really?
Not gonna
you
lie.
Gone that far? Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like an idiot afterwards. Like I let it get to me.
Yeah.
But
which is kind of what the point is, right? Like.
Right. But yeah, I definitely reported it one time. But I think it had something to do with my wrestling, because at one time I was writing for Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yahoo Sports, and I was making some good money writing about wrestling for Yahoo Sports, and they had somehow either tweeted my wrestling thing or whatever, and I felt like it was going to negatively impact my views, which would cost me money.
Right. That's
so.
money
I think
out of your
that's when
pocket,
I had.
so.
I had reported it or something like that, but nothing came of it.
Yeah, McCheese has like said of taking a few jabs at us before in the past, and usually I'll just retweet it and like it.
Yeah.
Like I just think
Well,
I find it funny.
I mean, I think that's what you have to do.
Right? You can't let that shit get.
But
to you.
I imagine because it's was it with Nico? It might not have. It was on a road trip not too long ago that somebody was going through them in the car.
And like reading them.
Yeah. It was on a 2-hour road trip.
So yeah, you guys are just kind of chilling.
Because we can't call those 2-hour road. Anything under 2 hours is not a road trip.
Oh, that's not a road trip,
according to Joe Eastman.
Okay. So what is that then? Just travel?
Well, it was 2 hours and 1 minute.
So that is a road trip.
So it was
then.
a road trip.
Okay.
It's so funny. Wrestlers have these kind of little intricate rules that aren't really
follow.
rules. Yeah, everybody has kind of an idea of what is what. It's fucking. We're all retards.
Right. Well, that's kind of why we do the podcast, right? We let everybody kind of tell us what their story, their rules, the way that they look at everything.
Yeah. I didn't want to do this podcast for so long because I just was like, this. I just didn't. You guys do. I listen to your podcast and like it's just blabbering. Like there's no questions.
Right.
Just talking.
I prefer it that way.
No, I understand, but I was.
Well, we're an hour and a half plus in, and
no, I
we
understand.
Probably asked
that.
like what, like 2 or 3
I was
questions?
like, well, I mean, you guys know me. You're from the area.
Right.
Don't you have any like titillating?
I asked, right, the WWA thing, or that was like a big one that's been in my head forever. When are you going to buy Top Rope? What you would change?
That was a good one. Yeah. I'd change a lot. The only reason I want to buy Top Rope is because I don't want to. It has nothing to do with the name, even though I'm loyal to the name. It's the PAL.
Right, it's such a good.
That venue
if
is.
we lose the PAL for wrestling, then Then there's no more wrestling in the city.
Forget about it.
Just,
I have no interest if you lose the PAL.
Right.
It's got the school upstairs and the venue downstairs.
It's literally a perfect venue for wrestling.
It absolutely is, and that's why I want it. But in the same sense, again, how long can the carrot be dangled?
Right.
So at some point you got to go off and do your own, and that's kind of something that has been internally a struggle.
Yeah.
Because last year, 2 years ago, I ran 6 shows. Last year, I ran 12 shows. And this year,
once
I'm hoping
a month in Brockton.
No, not once a month, but I did a few shows outside of Brockton. I got a couple different venues now.
Gotcha.
Where am I? Pembroke, Brockton, Bridgewater. Then I had one in West Boylston. So through it all, I ended up having
around,
12.
yeah.
So it's like, well, why don't I just start my own thing?
Because then this is all under the Top Rope umbrella, right?
Right now it is.
Yeah.
But you do think like, well, because then I don't have to deal with the headache of having to answer to somebody else and have this kind of group meeting.
Not saying that Steve's, like putting a negative effect.
No,
on
it has.
like
it
that.
has.
Yeah.
It has to do with answering to people.
Just literally haven't answered to anybody.
Yeah, and you don't want to have to answer to anybody. But
when you're promoting these shows, you're doing pretty much everything yourself anyway.
It's all
right?
about
like,
the promoting.
Yeah.
And then you have to argue with like, well, why is this on top? I don't think. Like in Fall River, Teddy's super over. In Brockton, he might not be as over.
Right.
So I don't know. So it's gone through my head, but I've left Top Rope before, and it wasn't a positive experience
for you,
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was more of a personal. I was mad at Teddy and Steve, and that's when I found out I had panic.
That's the anxiety thing.
disorder.
Yeah.
I thought I was having heart attacks, but the panic disorder.
It's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
I
woke up last night. I thought I was having a heart attack, but it wasn't. I just had to pee.
That's a weird combination of two things.
Yeah. Once I peed, I was like, oh
shit, I feel great.
This is fantastic.
We asked about Craig Costa and DDP. I mean, where do you really go from there? I don't.
No, I guess that's fine. I just thought maybe you had some titillating.
Well, the McCheese thing, I kind of waited to the end there to
jab you with
a little bit.
I'm sorry, but
no, I know it's not you. Like I didn't think it was you. It's just a funny thing to say.
Yeah, no. If I were to see, Teddy can be really funny, but I don't think Teddy has the
knowledge of
no, he knows indie wrestling.
Mean, okay. So
there's
a lot. There's a lot of obscure references.
Yeah, I don't think Teddy has the patience isn't the right word. I don't think he would have stuck with it for so long.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
To do the McCheese.
Yeah,
thing.
Teddy's got
so
a million.
Where are you falling on
it? Like I said, AG would have been a perfect one, but I don't.
Because AG knows goddamn everything.
Yes, and he's he's a bitch.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
his sense of
He'll for
humor.
sure go behind
And
the
like
Twitter
it's so
and
funny
stick
too
out.
because me, Vinny, and Taven have that mean sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what bonded us more than anything. Was
Yeah,
like
yeah, just-
we are all mean.
just in the back of the room, like
yeah,
this
just
bitch.
mean sense of humor. But we're also all sensitive bitches too.
Hurt your feelings.
Yeah, our feelings get hurt quick. I really can't pinpoint anybody. I'd like to say Sean Gorman,
But
but I don't. I feel like he's too smart to. I feel like it's beneath him.
okay,
I maybe I hold him up to a higher standard.
maybe right. Like
So I don't think it's Gorman, but maybe George Carroll.
another good one. Yeah.
Because I mean I know George is working for New Japan now, but I don't see it being beneath him.
Okay,
like
yeah.
I feel like he is petty enough to do that kind of stuff, and that's not a knock
Right, it's
against
just
him.
what
Like
your
we're all
opinion
petty,
is, right? Of course.
we're all fucking petty, and it's funny and it's taken off and people talk about it, so it's kind of something like the
right. We're talking about it right now.
right. So I feel like he could, and he's got a good sense of humor and he's mean and stuff. So I feel like he could be a good one.
Maybe if you put an invite out to Man McCheese, he'll come on the podcast like you did with Drew.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll
Yeah.
work. I'm not sure.
Might take a few years, right?
Yeah,
But-
we'll get Maverick Wild.
well, I mean, if he shows up for a podcast, I guess you'd know who he is.
unless he's wearing the McCheese.
Yeah,
costume.
oh yeah.
Like the full-
That's right.
the
That's
burger
a
head
that's
and
a
stuff. McDonald's
thing.
thing,
Yeah.
from back in the day.
No. Yeah. I mean, maybe George Carroll. I think if you had to pin me down to somebody, because everybody
that's
else,
who you would.
it can't be AG, can't be Teddy, definitely not Steve Ricard. I don't know too many of the North Shore guys
Right.
that I don't know their sense of humor, so I guess
so
I
you couldn't
can't.
really go to.
Yeah, I guess I can't pinpoint anybody there, but I think George would probably be a good one just because of who he is.
Yeah.
You know.
I got nothing left, Mac. How about you? You got
Do you have any? I don't want to say advice for the wrestling business, all that stuff. I don't want to
Quit,
offend
don't
you with,
do
with,
it.
with that one. But since you run the training school and anything,
Yeah.
do you want to give out some info of guys listening to this right now, thinking of maybe joining your class?
You know, there are a few places in New England. I'd say. I think about this. I think about wrestling all the time. It's disgusting. I'm obsessive, and but the thing is, every training school has their bad wrestlers, but in every training school has their good wrestlers. And I think if you have it in you to be good, then any halfway decent trainer will get you there. So I don't think my training is any better or worse than anybody else's. No, that's not true. I think it's better than
You just thought of a few different places.
Yeah. I think it's better than a few places, but I guess in the scope of things, I'd say it's just as good as Fury's up in where's it, North Andover, or Taven's down in Warwick. But meaning just as good, meaning if you have what it takes, then you're going to make it whatever's. If you go to any of those schools, because the training is good. If you go to a bad school, then it is what it is. Yeah. All I've got now is my training, and my training isn't the end all be all. I will ask people. I used to have people go up to Fury's. I used to ask him if it would okay, and he would be fine with it. And then the whole thing with AG happened, and I think that. Well, I left a sour spot with I think Steve. And I mean, obviously left a sour spot with me, but more so AG had nothing to do with Fury. So I would still like to have that my guys go up there, but I don't want the heat with Steve. So I tell them they can certainly go to Taven's and Mikey's. Yeah. I mean, there was nothing. I obviously Taven. I trained, so I believe everything he said. And all our one thing I say and is going to be different from what they see, and everybody's going to see a different thing.
What works for you?
Yeah, what works for you, and be yourself. And I try to train my guys that way. Like me as a wrestler, I don't want you necessarily wrestling like me because that's not you. But like if I see a guy
that can wrestle,
like a Matt Magnum,
yeah.
You
guys had very similar styles.
Very similar styles. That's I really enjoyed wrestling with him, and that's probably my favorite teammate. But Or Kevin. I thought Kevin wrestled a bit like me, but I would never ask Nico to wrestle like me or Chuck
Because it's just not.
It's
who
not.
They are.
It's not going to work.
Right.
You know. Although Nico can do a fucking incredible shooting star press.
Really.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't. I mean, you don't really expect it out of.
Well, you don't even know who he is. So
Right.
stop
I thought it
pretending.
was somebody totally different.
Yeah,
but
he's not small.
I'm not thinking
He's
6 foot.
He's like
Jack
the
dude.
he's the Puerto Rican looking fella.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I'd have to see.
I think he might be Puerto Rican actually.
Not. He's that Puerto Rican.
He's that
looking
Puerto
fella.
Rican little fella.
Explains why.
I
he
thought we
looks
were going to
Puerto
get. I
Rican.
thought we were going to get into some more heat with like WCW.
Yeah, we can if you
no,
want.
I mean he kind
it
of.
didn't come up naturally, so I feel like that was your heat with
Or,
like
or
Jamie,
with like
or?
Gino. You remember he got on your podcast and talked shit about me for hours. You remember that?
I don't remember that.
Well, I
because
do.
That podcast was so goddamn long ago.
Yeah, well, I do.
So
remember that.
what was the?
Nothing. I think everything he said on there was correct.
Really? That's
Yeah.
No, because you made fun of you took a shot at Kim, right?
Well, okay. Well, yes. Yeah, I did, and it was wrong.
I don't remember the podcast, but for some
you're
reason
right.
that specific thing,
okay.
like
So my problem with that is that was Gino playing the hero. Like
White Knight scenario.
I'm mad at Drew because he made fun of Kim. That's not why he was mad at me. He was mad at me for another completely different reason, which he was in the right for.
right. Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I was in the wrong. But with Kim, and you guys know Kim, right?
Yes.
Okay. I did. I made a joke, and we all joke in wrestling behind each other's back. We're crude, we're mean, we're disgusting. Let's not pretend like we all don't do it.
Absolutely.
Well, the joke got back to her. It offended her,
Right.
naturally,
Like it would a normal human
like
being.
it would anybody. And but I did what I called her. We talked. I apologized.
Yeah.
And I lost a friend over it.
Yeah.
So that was what I lost. I lost Kim's friendship.
Yeah.
Because I was fucking stupid.
Because you would just kind of talk.
Because I was just talking shit just to pop the boys and be
Right.
funny. I lost Kim's friendship. That was my cross to bear. But Gino was using that as an excuse for him to hate me. When that more had to do with the whole Vinny WCW
because
following me type of thing.
Didn't Gino like get those? I feel like he was involved with WCW heavily.
Yes, he
at
was,
that
and
time.
he was good friends with Vinny.
Yeah.
And I think when Vinny left, kind of under his wing, so to speak, and came to my, it left a bad taste in his mouth, which I understand. But I did nothing to correct it on my end. I might have propagated the situation because I like to get a good rise out of people. You know? And I saw him at some WCW show, and I got drunk. Again, I drink at wrestling, and Nick doesn't help me. I'll have a drink.
Yeah.
And I confronted him, and it got sorted. And I said some bad things, and I feel bad, and I hope that it wasn't. I hope it was his decision not to be involved with wrestling has nothing to do with me.
You hope.
I hope. And if it does, then certainly there's an olive branch that if he wants to come back and to top rope or just come around, I'm always
Just to speak with you.
Caleb wanted to bring him in when Caleb was booking, and I said, as long as we have a chance to sit down and kind of hash it out,
Beforehand,
I'm okay because
right?
I don't hold grudges.
Yep.
But I also, if somebody's going to talk shit about me, I am going to bring it up.
For sure.
So if we can sit down and talk it through,
if you guys want to do that on our podcast,
right. I don't think that would be a good idea. Because I think I'm all show sometimes.
Gotcha.
If I'm in front of people, then I feel like I've got a certain personality I have to live up to.
You got a song and dance.
Yeah. When if you get me down 1-on-1, I think I'm a more human,
calm down,
gotcha. Human person. Candido, I didn't have a problem with. He got me started. It just kind of came up when I ran Fairhaven
across the street.
The street, and Nick got me that building. And that was when I was kind of playing with the idea of promoting. And I told Ashworth I was running.
Yeah.
I said, Ash, I called him that night. He was coming back from a Celtics game or Bruins game or something. I said, I'm running that venue. I don't want any heat, but I'm trying to make some money. And Candido wanted to run the night before. And if I remember correctly, neither of us drew very well. So, I mean...
It kind of is what it is.
It is what it looked. We both. I wouldn't say I lost money, but I didn't make any money.
Right. Yeah. You didn't come out in the black.
So, other than that, I mean, I think thing that people get offended really easily, which again I do too. So
right.
I
It's
understand.
kind of the same thing.
But I think Candido, when I first started, was he pushed me. He gave me bookings. Guy never gave me any bookings.
Right.
You know, but Candido gave me bookings. So how can I hate the guy? You know.
Right. Yeah.
He gave me my start. Whether it turned out, you know, to be the right decision or not. It is what it is.
Right.
So I can't harm him. I remember one time I was at a WCW show.
Yeah.
And I would go there just to watch bad wrestling. You know, I'd pay my ticket. I'd try to pay anytime I go. And sit there and watch. And somebody had called the fire department or something happened. And he thought I did it.
Right.
You know, while I was there, and I'm like, I wouldn't pay $10 to come.
Right, to come.
Although I guess in retrospect, that might be something I would do, only because like it would be funny to see it happen in person.
Right, to sit there and just watch it all break down.
But yeah, he blamed me for it, and I was kind of like, I thought we were, you know, might have to come to blows that night because he was getting really offended about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually didn't have anything to do with it, you know. And I think he later found out that night that it didn't have anything to do with me, and I apologized to. I almost called him Fat Jordan. That's not nice. Jordan.
Yeah.
He is. He knows that. He's a nice guy. But I apologized to him that night too for that time. But apologies mean nothing if you continue to act in that manner, which I do. So I guess my apologies mean nothing.
Well, it's funny that you brought up. Do you remember we all went to a show together? There was like
yes.
25 of us, and the fire department shut that show down
in
too.
Steve's awesome van.
Yes, in like a 18-passenger van.
Yeah.
I had work, and you just demanded that I came anyways, so I did.
No, it's fine. Just come with us.
Yeah.
Come with us. You'll be fine.
Well, you know, I do like people.
Right.
But I don't like people.
Of course.
You know. But that was, I mean, we all took a picture that day. It was
I have it on my phone still.
an interesting group of people. People
Ridiculous.
you would never see.
How did we all end up hanging out together?
Yeah,
right?
you know, like, it's people that when you're in your own little groups, you talk shit about. But then when you're all together, you're like, hey,
what up?
Together we could just make fun of this group.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
everybody
all
else.
friends
Yeah.
now, you know.
It was like three matches, and each
Yeah,
match
yeah.
got like somebody. The ambulance came.
Right.
I think at one point you tried to slide in as a referee.
Oh, I don't think that
You were
happened.
shaking somebody who was unconscious for sure.
Oh God, I don't
like
remember.
waking him up. Yeah. That was.
Oh shit.
We were barbecuing.
I remember I went swimming that day in
You
my
did.
shorts.
Yes.
That's what I remember about that. That's when Vinny was first starting to come around.
Yeah.
Vinny and Magnum. And now, trying to get the cool people to come around too. It's so funny what people don't know. What I think is common knowledge about
stuff.
wrestling.
Yeah, that people
like I would explain to them last night what a high spot was.
Yeah.
It's when you jump off the top rope. I'm like, no, the high spot is the high spot in the match when the crowd is up. It could, you get the crowd to go high. It's the spot in the match that gets the crowd to go high because it's the crowd that matters here. They're the ones buying the tickets. But it's so funny because wrestling does have like everybody kind of has their own opinion, and I only got that opinion from when I talked to Al Snow.
Right,
and I was like, oh, that makes sense. If I never talked to Al Snow, I might have been like, yes, you're right. A high spot is jumping off the top rope.
That flippy do.
But it makes sense once you hear it and you go, yeah, okay. That the high spot of the match, the high point.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I'm hoping that they continue to come. I don't think they will. I think we'll see them fall off. And kind of
why is it that you feel that way?
I think some people want it more than others.
Yeah.
And when you want it, you have to live it, and you have to dedicate and rededicate yourself to changing. And sometimes you have to step out of your bubble.
Yep.
And stop listening to the guys that you think are your friends or are your friends.
Right. Yeah.
I always say your friends will tell you you're good.
Yeah.
Your friends will always tell you you're good. You want the people that aren't telling you you're good.
That's why we're friends. I don't. If he does something,
I never
stupid,
tell you guys you're good, right?
You usually tell me that I'm the better one.
You are the better one. Yeah, you're the more athletic one.
Which is weird.
Maybe
right?
that's why I try to split you guys up in that battle royal.
Maybe
because I was trying to get you away from him.
Okay, yeah.
But again, you have to.
You ever seen that scene in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with Ben Affleck's yelling at Jay and Silent Bob? He's like, you want to get away from this motherfucker
Never.
like this, and then Bob's in the background like nodding his head, smiling.
Never.
Oh.
But you because whatever. Monster Mack, your trainee.
Yes.
Because Brandon Webb, he's trying to make me a manager at Top Rope. Talk about like a
yeah.
Like, am I really that bad? So don't feel bad when people say, you're not the good one.
Yeah, I don't think he does. I don't think he feels bad.
You get it. You're like, yeah, I get it.
I was saying that every time he does something dumb, I yell at him.
Oh, yeah, you don't want
your
friends. Your friends will tell you you're good. And even Vinny, like, I'll still tell him, like, I'm like, no, that wasn't good. And he'll get really offended because now he's the Ring of Honor champion. And
don't tell me I'm not good.
Don't tell me I'm not good.
Right.
Who are you? Type of thing. And but I mean, I feel like that's my job to some extent.
Right, to some degree.
To be like, hey, man, I didn't like what you did.
This isn't exactly right.
Yeah, it's not what I liked. Maybe somebody else will like it. I don't like the Monster Mack stuff.
Right, and that's fine.
And that's fine. It works for you.
Right, yeah, I was going to say.
And you're comfortable doing it.
Right. It's
I don't
stuff
have I don't have to like it.
He doesn't have to. You're not the same guy as him. Like, he'll bite somebody's ass in a spot.
Right.
That's not something that you're going to do or that you're a fan of or whatever. Right.
And I completely understand that there are a lot of people that don't understand what I do or like, you know.
Right, yeah.
Why doesn't
I don't
he
want to go out there and straight grapple.
I don't want to straight
do
grapple
all that
or
stuff.
sell.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I'm fine with that. I understand that. My goal has always been to be average.
Yeah.
And I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you've made it to
I think
your
I've
goal.
succeeded.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You know. But
like you said, but we kind of found our shtick. We've fine-tuned it over the last few years.
Absolutely, and it works for you. And you do your podcast, and
we sell our
you're
shirts.
finding a way to monetize it.
Yep.
So like, hey man, good for you. I don't have to. I don't have to like it.
You don't have to be a fan of our
exactly. I'm endeared to you as people.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I like you, but you know, ABC.
Right.
Acquaintance by circumstance.
I'll take it. But dude, thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having
the
me.
podcast. This is a lot of fun.
I'm missing my sister's birthday for this, so
it's still early enough where you can make it on time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You go show up for the cake at least.
Yeah.
Mac, you got any final
I do
words?
like cake.
It's delicious.
Just thanks a lot, man. I knew you had a lot to say.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you using this as an outlet to get some of the info out there to the fans, and it was nice getting to know you a little more.
Yeah.
Rather outside of the business.
I'm glad I didn't shit on as many people as I thought I was going to. I really coming here like kind of had a list in my head of guys that
a lot of people do think that they're going to come in here like and bash.
Yeah.
But we're kind of like positive dudes.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what it was.
The spirits up
you keep the spirits going.
The beers helped too.
I only had 2.
All right.
It's only 2.
I only had 2 just to kind of loosen up from that panic disorder.
Yeah.
Jose Perez.
Yeah.
You know.
He's not drunk.
I'm not drunk.
Thank you, dude, for coming down. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening.
Thank you for having me.
Check out the website, all that stuff that we do, T-shirts, videos, all that stuff.
Everyone, thanks for listening. Have a good one.